Hey there, comic book friends. I'm Travis. It's time for the roundtable. How's it going, everybody? Today I have with me Stephen, Mike, and Tom. How's it going, guys?
What's up, man?
It's going good.
Good to
Here
go.
to, here to talk some books. I just want to let people know I'm attempting to use some of Google's other little gadgets to try and create an easier conversation for the people who are watching to have a conversation with us in a more timely fashion. Seeing how lots of times my comments don't load real quick off of the YouTube page. If you're happen to be watching this on Google Plus, there's a question answer tab there. You can click on it and you can write questions in there, and I will check them out. I kind of tested it. It seems to work pretty fast, so we'll see if that works too. If you're interested in asking questions or comments or whatever that way, hopefully we can get to them and we can part our incredible opinions and knowledge upon whatever it is that you have to say. So, with that said, where do we want to start this week? Anybody got an itch and I want to talk right now first? What's that?
With Vertigo, Bodies.
Okay. We're going to talk independent books first. Let's talk Bodies, because we skipped. You weren't here the last month when Bodies was here, right?
No. And each time I creep a little bit closer to figuring it out, and then at the end I fall even further back. And
So you feel the same way about that, like that you don't feel any better issue 7 than you feel like issue 4?
I know. I mean, at issue 4, I thought I knew more than I do now. But the problem is this is 7 of 8, and how they're going to wrap up in just one more. That's what's going to be amazing to me, because you get more information, and everything is going great, and it's amazing, and the story's carrying along, and the art is beautiful, and then they throw in something, and I'm totally lost again. So I definitely
they slap the ball and you lose it.
yeah, the world, yes.
The thing about this issue that was crazy to me was that the whole issue, the character was sitting there talking about, what is this long harvest? And then he'd be like, we'll tell you in a minute.
Yeah.
And then it was like, a couple of minutes later, it'd be like, well, what is this long harvest? You need to tell me if I'm going to, do whatever. And then he'd be like, well, we'll tell you in a minute. And by the end of the issue, I didn't feel like I knew any more about what was going on than,
the problem is, like any guy, he asks a question, and then sex gets put in front of him, and he just completely forgets about it and goes on with whatever else is, so it just doesn't matter anymore, right?
Yeah.
Oh.
The best part of that had to be, as he kept asking the question, he goes, that Jack the Ripper? Well, we have him. And the worst problem with it is it went totally Cthulhu, and I'm like, that didn't answer the question.
What was up with that Cthulhu guy in the tank? I don't.
Yeah. This is Jack the Ripper. Yeah.
Yeah.
That guy in the tank. That's Jack the Ripper. Which explains why he rips, I guess, because man, he's an umber, all right. Yeah. That's gonna be one of those things. That's a whole other story that we're not gonna see. It's just a background information. Yes, this issue was really wild in the way it's trying to tie stuff up. So clearly, to some degree, like the far-flung future, our detective, as a young adult with her mother, screws the world with this, this pulse thing, just messes everybody up. And how she's looking back into the past to see this stuff, I don't know. Is she just hallucinating still, or is it really happening, kind of a thing? Not 100% sure on that. The way it ends really interesting. With them all basically all the detectives basically being in the same room. The only thing that's odd about that is that the characters, like the female detective from the future, she looks really strange. I mean.
Isn't it supposed to be his face?
They all look strange in that room, right?
Right, because it's all got the dead guy's face, right?
Oh, the
or
dead
his
guy's
face.
face.
It's all his face, right? It's all his face.
I thought it was the detectives. I didn't.
I don't know. I was so confused
Yeah.
by the fact the
See,
art there was so weird
yeah.
The only reason I thought it was the detective is when he says, "I do it only for me," forget the world. And that's why I thought everybody's supposed to look like him, is to show him you need to do this.
That explains why they all look the way they do. Because I was like, man, is that just the artist being kind of loopy about how?
Which you never know. Yeah, it could be.
Yeah.
What I want to
be.
know about this issue, and that I didn't understand, is why is the Muslim woman in the interrogation room? Like,
well, because she shows up to the meat place, clearly dressed in a full burqa and whatnot.
Yeah,
and when she gets to the truck is full of explosives, and it's full of
somebody set her up.
Yeah.
Her partner set her up.
Yeah.
Her partner, he says he's part of that whole, that he's part of that secret society. He set her up. She's the fall guy.
All right.
That's why in this scene he's showing pictures of her walking to the truck that's full of all the anti-hate stuff, all the hate stuff and whatnot. He's setting her up. She's the patsy.
All right. I mean, it's just like Sarge was saying. I mean, I didn't understand why it was that, I seemed confused. I mean, I've read 7 of 8 issues of this.
Yeah. I'm really enjoying it. I've enjoyed it all the way along. I enjoyed this issue despite it having some confusing. We're supposed to be confused.
Yeah.
Because clearly none of the detectives have a finger on what's going on. I'm really hoping that the next issue, clears it up for us enough for it to tell a story. Because then the whole thing's going to be great. But it's really kind of frightening. It's all down to one issue. If that one issue doesn't deliver it in the right way, we're all going to go, wow, that was 8 issues of some cool art in there, but the story just kind of,
Well, I mean, I can't wait to go back and read everything in the trade. I mean, I think maybe that there's certain things that I didn't pick up on because of, how sporadic the 4 stories going on.
Mm-hmm.
I think maybe if I go back and read it in trade, that there's going to be things I'm like, oh, that was, of course.
The one thing I did feel that they did is I do feel like I know exactly what is going on until at the very end they always make the last word of their thing a new question. Because it feels like they're explaining everything and then they just tell you alfalfa. And you don't know what alfalfa means, but it's the next clue to the next issue.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that is what's going to be amazing, is it is all going to tie together. The last issue is going to make sense on all those last pieces. So I do think it's an excellent comic.
Yeah. Yeah. But I definitely agree with you on the sense of you feel like you're taking a few steps forward and then suddenly you're pulled back into, or you figured out how to swim and now the current suddenly got fast again and now you're starting to drown in the information that's there. Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah. But it's been cool. I really enjoyed it, and I love the difference in the arts. I think that just makes a great book. I'm curious if all these timelines bleed together at some point. Who's going to take the artist duties on that, and how's that going to work if that's what happens? So that'll be really curious to see what that's going to be like.
No, I love Tula Tay, so anything she does is
it's pretty cool. Steven, did you get any indie books this week?
Yeah. Bitch Planet #2.
Sweet. Let's talk Bitch Planet #2.
Yeah.
Tom, did you pick up #2?
Oh yeah.
Okay. Well, I know you.
Good. Yeah, it was pretty good. This issue. I don't know. It seemed like a lot of setup for what's going to be happening in the in the future, and I don't know. How did you guys feel about it? Like, I was kind of.
I like this issue a lot more than #1. #1 felt like #1 to me felt like it was all set up. Gave us the information, kind of gave us the situation, the lowdown on Bitch Planet itself and that sort of thing. Set up how people get stuck on Bitch Planet, just how awful the man can be, with the killing of the character in the first issue and whatnot. And we get a very brief introduction to kind of some of the characters that we're going to see over and over again, I think, in the issue. This issue, it felt like something was going on. I mean, clearly there's parts moving here. You have this party. You have these father figures who, I don't know if they're religious or if they're a government, part of the government, and they're called fathers. Or whatever. So I'm real curious about that.
Was that person that was in the first issue that was doing the negotiation with the person? Was he not a father?
I don't think so. I think he was the prison guy. I think he was the head of the. I think he was that. What was his name? Salazan or whatever, that Roberto Salazan guy who runs Pitch Plan. I think it was.
Yeah, I need to go back and look at that because that first issue.
Yeah. So you got this kind of, obviously, a play of power going on. There's some sport, whatever this sport is that we don't know. It's like, I get what you're saying about that. I feel like it's set up that we're clearly going to have this competition of sorts. Her gathering, that stuff. Interesting, I guess, in the sense of this blonde woman that tries convincing her to do this thing. That was some kind of strange stuff there. But I liked it. I liked the characters. I liked the kind of like this whole scene where they're running.
Yes, dude, that's my favorite part.
Yeah, and these different proposals. They're running, exercising, and Penny back there, of course, clearly is not going to keep up running. That's I'm assuming that cardio is not her thing, being a large woman.
Then she's like fighting in the back.
But she gets in the background, and so while the whole conversation's going on, you got this great conversation going on of these other women trying to pitch to her, hey, make the team and put me on the team, and this is why. Even these people inside the prison, they all have an angle. They're all trying to get something. And while that's going on, of course,
I like the way that the top of the page showed you that was their their
pitch.
Angle.
Yeah. And their proposal. Yeah. And the fact that you got the whole fight going on in the background with Penny back there. It takes like 10 guys to wrestle her down, and after one person's done with her pitch, she goes back on the conveyor belt and gets into the fight too. It just that whole part. Good. And of course, this proposal is really curious because this proposal is potentially world changing. This proposal, there's a threat to wreck some of these people who are in control of everything. So the thing that I thought was most curious is this panel here with our person. She comes back to this woman to say, yes, I want to put a team together. I want to know what the hell she's doing in this panel, because there's like a woman back there that's all bloody and she's got blood on her hands, and I'm just not sure. I don't know. I had a long conversation with T-Bird on Twitter about all the different possibilities of what that could be, and we still don't really know. So I'm really curious about that. But I enjoyed this issue. I liked the art. It felt really solid in this issue. I like this issue a lot more because it felt like, to me, the first issue didn't feel like a whole lot happened. I mean, other than the lady being murdered, it just felt like it was really just kind of, this is the world. Now in this one, we get a little more of this is the world, but now we're getting invested. There's some stuff going on, in particular with some characters to kind of let's move things forward in some sense or whatever.
Well, I mean, I read a thing with DeConnick that was talking about how she wants to make this out for a 30-issue run.
Yeah, it says that in the back here too.
So, so maybe all this stuff that's going on right now is just setting for that. Because the thing I didn't like about the first issue was that you had the whole story of the issue was about this woman who at the end of the issue dies. And I felt like I'd invested a whole issue, and this person just kind of was gone. And so maybe that plus what's going on with this whole what is it, Megaton?
That's the sport, right?
Yeah, is maybe 10 issues, 11 issues down the line, it's going to be just an awesome story, and I can't wait to read it.
Yeah, it's definitely got potential. I'm kind of excited about I kind of like the format of how they're doing this. you know, in the back, she talked about how every third issue it's going to be a spotlight on a character, and it's going to be by guest artists, which is pretty cool. So, and the third issue is going to be about Penny. So I'm going to be excited to check that out. So yeah, there's a lot of potential in here. Like, I mean, yeah, it was good.
Well, I think that's, you know, to me that's a great way to keep the book going, because I know a lot of these independent books are taking breaks off, you know, in between trades. Well, you know, she's got an agreement with her artist. You know, artists kind of wants to see their family occasionally. So, you know, that every third issue we get a guest artist, and we're going to get some world building or some character building stuff going on. And so that's cool. I mean, I think that's an interesting way to do it. The only thing that I wonder about is so we've got this issue. So does that mean issue number 3 is going to be, or is it 3 issues with the regular artist and the regular story, and then an issue of? I'm just wondering. I'm wondering how this. I mean, I'm looking forward to knowing about Penny and whatnot. That's going to be awesome to find that out. But how then how much? I'm worried about how much I'm going to remember what's going on right now, for 2 months to then come back in the middle of something, because we're really in the middle of something, to go back to the plot.
Could it be rounded out like the characters, like Penny's going to be part of the team, and then the third issue could be the next person that's going to be on the team, I guess.
Sure.
And just introducing the teammates with their own issue, just kind of getting to know them a little bit more, so when this thing does, you know, happen and you get the team formed, you kind of gain some sense of, like, you know, connection to them because you've kind of read about them. So I mean, that could be one of those things.
Yeah. Like I said, for me, I enjoyed the first issue. I like this issue a lot more. I'm more excited about the book with this issue. I get kind of a sense of maybe where we're going and you know what's going to be in it. You know, I was concerned with the first issue. It was going to basically be prison life and you know, them getting beat up all the time, and that's what it was going to be. Was just going to be one giant, you know, constant brawl in the prison, and I wanted there to be something else to it beyond that. So I'm curious to see what this is all going to be. What, you know, what it's going to be about. So good for me anyway. I'm excited about that. Yeah. Are there any books we want to talk about? What else?
Anybody read this?
Yes.
Not Like Us?
Yes.
Speaking of second issues.
Yep.
I really, really like the second issue a whole lot better than I like that first issue. On the first issue, I didn't know really where I sat on it. After the second issue, I'm a little more curious as to not only the people that are in the issue, but what's going on behind the scenes. These people don't seem to have the, you know, we're trying to take you here for your betterment. They kind of seem evil in this issue.
Kind of seem evil?
I mean, they're beating people to death for nothing. I mean,
well, yeah, they're freaking sinister as all get out. I mean, I read this and I'm like, wow, these people. So the premise is basically you've got this household of people who all have got some level of mental powers, whether that be, you know, telekinesis, whether that be empathy, whether that be mind reading, whether that be, you know, forecasting the future, whatever that is. They're trying to get this woman to our main character to become one of them. She's this heavy, powerful telepath. You know, be one of us, be part of our family. You'll fit in here. You'll belong with us because we're not like all those other people. There's a brief spin of us against everyone else kind of a thing. I guess that's where people keep referring, because I've heard lots of people talk about this as being like the X-Men, which to me is a kind of an odd. To me, that's an odd way of explaining it, or a shortcut that doesn't. I don't know covers everything it needs to cover, but these people do whatever they want to do because hey, they got superpowers in a world where there aren't any. So, but they're in hiding. They hide in plain sight and just kind of take what they want from whoever they want to. This guy on the cover here, in this issue, they end up rolling him. You know, they beat him up for his headphones. Or that's the story you get to start out with. They beat him up for his headphones. You end up finding out that they had another alternative motive, and they kick the holy hell out of the guy. It's not like they just, it's not like they just slap him around and take his stuff. I mean, they beat him into the ground. And I guess really what it was about was he's a tagger, and they don't want him in their neighborhood tagging stuff because that draws more attention to their neighborhood, which could potentially draw more attention to them. Or at least that's the sanitized story that they tell the main character after she seems a bit disturbed that they just beat this guy up for his headphones, for vintage headphones. He has these vintage 1970 headphones that they beat him up for. So I don't know, which story do you believe? Part of me thought as I'm reading,
I don't believe anything. I don't believe anything that these people behind the scenes are telling us. And I mean, that's one thing that makes it really, really interesting is that it's not only that I care about the story that's going on with their main character, but what's going on behind the scenes is, what's their motivation? Why are they doing this? Mm-hmm. And man, this one issue that I just can't wait till there's another issue out.
Yeah, because the other thing that's happening is someone in the house is toning down her powers because part of her problem is she basically to commit suicide because she has so much noise in her head that she just can't take it anymore. Feels like she's crazy. Well, they've been toning it out of her head, and she knows it, and she tells them, knock it off, let me think for myself. And of course, as soon as they turn it off, she's just bombarded with all these people's stuff, and she tells them to turn it back on. So there's even a question of how much is she really thinking for herself,
think that page is amazing,
and how much is she manipulating? Oh yeah, where she gets bombarded. Yeah.
Yeah, where she gets bombarded by everything.
By the end of the issue, she's freaked out. She goes, I need to go and go to sleep and rest. And she wakes up in the middle of the night, and she's like, as much as she's horrified by this thing, and part of her proposal for her to be part of this group, she's supposed to go and murder her family, so no one knows she exists anymore. And she, at the end of the issue, she's like, I'm mortified and terrified by all this, but at the same time, I feel very comfortable with it, that there is a place for me, that I can be something somewhere. And I don't know, it's going to be really, I think it's going to be a lot of potentially great moral gray area to mess around in it. But I don't know, the thing I came away first from the book is that, man, it's sinister. It's really sinister. I mean, these people...
Yeah, it's like Stacey Poole said, that when she read the first issue, that she thought it was a lot like X-Men, and after she read the second issue, she kind of felt more like it was a Magneto type of... kind of we are better than you type thing, or a superiority thing.
Yeah, because definitely the voice, who's like the boss, seems to be the boss of the house, pretty much says, look, why shouldn't we take everything?
Yeah.
We can, why not? So, yeah, it's cool. I love the art. I just love how rich... there's not always details in the background and whatnot, but when they decide to put them in there, it's really rich, it's really thick, and of course the colors are outstanding.
I think the art's amazing, but I think that Jordie Bellaire's color in that, with the way that the art is just takes it over the top on what's going on there.
Yeah, pretty cool. Pretty cool. Anybody else got any books they want to talk about?
Rasputin.
Oh yeah.
Continues to dig into, of course, wonderful art, but continues to dig into the story of Rasputin and the healing of the animal and how that still infects part of his brain.
Right.
Yeah. And I like that because then he ends up barking and being overly protective of the child.
Right. He saves the prince's dog. The dog is on its last legs. It's really old. They're going to euthanize it, and the queen asks him to heal. If you think you can heal my son, heal the dog first. And he's like, I don't do animals. Animals mess me up. And she's like, well, fine, get out of here if that's the case. He's like, fine. He's going to leave. And while he's going out the door, the doctor is getting ready to euthanize the dog. The little girl is crying about the fact they're going to euthanize the dog. So he breaks down like most of us would, and he saves the dog. And then then he takes on the personality of the Cocker Spaniel through the rest of the book. Yeah. He growls at people. He's overprotective. The way he said he gets invited to dinner, right? And he's savaging stuff like a dog would, eating on bones and all this stuff.
I like that in this issue that you know, I'm a huge fan of Rasputin and everything, like as far as that whole like Rasputin Russian history thing goes.
Mhm.
And this was the first issue that there was actually like, you know, why it is that, you know, Rasputin is respected by the family. How he, you know, I mean, we understand that, you know, he's at his death's door and they're about to kill him and everything. But I thought it was good that there was a lead up to that in this.
Mhm.
And I kind of liked how the doctor in this was kind of like a representation of, you know, everything like the Russian people thought that, you know, he was like a witch doctor and, you know, everything that was going on with that.
Putting leeches on the child who has a blood disorder.
Right. The child is
Yeah.
a hemophiliac, the
Yeah.
bleeder. You know, once he gets cut, he'll bleed out, and they're
Oh,
sticking leeches all
love
over
that
him.
panel.
Yeah,
That panel is
him
freaking
bleeding.
awesome.
I couldn't believe they did a 2-page spread of the building, of the
You know,
palace.
But
every
they've
issue's
done that
had
in
that.
every issue though, right?
Yeah, you get
Yeah.
like 3 or 4 issues in, and you get this gorgeous, you know, some sort of a gorgeous 2-page spread of some sort, which is just it's just a great piece of art. I mean,
Which
I
you'll
love
never
it.
see in an Avengers
I
book.
love
Oh,
Ron
hell
Cosmo. I mean, I think
hell
that his art is just absolutely amazing, and he can do different styles. You know, I mean, he can almost like verge on like a Ben Templeton style, but at the same time, like, you know, do something that's gorgeous, like those layouts of, you know, the Russian landscape. And I mean, I don't know, it's just amazing to me.
I don't know how much, to be honest, I don't know how much story is in these books.
Yeah.
It's a brief little ride. The art is gorgeous. I'm a Rasputin fan in the sense of just the whole mythology of you know of what he did and the lore behind his death. So for me, it's entertaining. I still really enjoy it. I don't know that I would tell anybody to rush out and get this because it's great storytelling because there isn't a lot of story there. I don't think. I mean, there is some. There's enough to keep it moving and whatnot. But it's I don't know. It's cool. The art is amazing. So I don't know how many issues this is. Is this like? Is it 6?
I don't know.
I mean,
it
well,
can't
here,
be too
I guess, yeah. I mean, they've got him outside. They're getting ready to shoot him again. So,
Yeah.
you know, they haven't thrown him in the river yet, but that's coming.
Yeah.
They're not very far off from, because I mean, the whole book is basically starts out for the first issue number 1. You know, he's just finishing up dinner, and they start to kill him in the first issue. So
Yeah.
what dovetails each issue, front and back, is them, you know, putting the next nails in his coffin, basically, of trying to kill him off.
Yeah.
And
Because it
then
was
the in between is him kind of remembering back to the
Yeah.
different stuff that brought him to the point he's at. So
because it's poison, stab, shot, drowned.
right, they haven't drowned him yet.
All right.
Well, they drowned him and disappeared because my understanding
okay.
is when they drowned Rasputin, his body disappears, and so who knows? Rasputin could still be walking around right now with Jim Morrison, Elvis, and I don't know who else.
That's an Archer and Armstrong story waiting to happen.
Yeah. Most definitely. Yeah. I read Casanova. Casanova, this is issue number 1 of, I don't know, Acedia, I guess is how you say that. I am a huge Casanova fan. I've been waiting for this for a very, very long time. And it was absolutely awesome. It's so Matt Fraction and Fabio Moon. I won't say a lot of...
I love Fabio Moon.
Yeah.
But that's like a throwback to like the original Casanova story.
Yes. You could jump on this with this issue, but there is a ton of background that you wouldn't know about. But just the caveat of this one, he lands in L.A. basically, and he can't remember anything. He does not know who he is at all. So you, as the reader, don't have to know his history, because the premise of this, he's working for some boss type guy that lives in the L.A. hills, in the Hollywood hills, and the boss doesn't know a lot about his history either. So they both have these huge gaps in their lives. They've kind of made a pact with each other that he's going to go and discover his boss's past, and the boss is going to go and discover his past. So I would guess as a new reader, you might be able to get on this book and be given the information that you need to know. You know, this first issue, they're throwing this party, and this woman shows up and tries assassinating him, tries stabbing him through with a giant hairpin, and he beats her up. And she calls him by name, because his name is Casanova Quinn, but he goes by another name in this. He goes by Mr. Cassidy in this. Quentin Cassidy is his name. But the art, let's see, I don't know if I can show you. I'll show you this. I love this page, for instance. This lady sitting on a diving board, their feet dangling in the water, and a lot of it's just these great panels of these balloons. Because at the party, everybody had a balloon on their wrist, and these are all the flattened out balloons after the party's over. I can't show you the other page because the other page would probably make it a rated R thing. They definitely have no issue with showing nudity in this whatsoever. So if you're offended by that, don't get it. But it is just cool Fabio Moon art with basic colors. The color palettes are always awesome. And then there's a cool backup story. There's a cool. What's that?
Who wrote the original Casanova one?
Matt Fraction. This has always been Matt Fraction.
It's Matt Fraction's character?
Yeah. Yes. Yes.
Was it Fabio Moon on the original art?
Gabriel Bra did. They switched back and forth because they're twins. Gabriel Bra and Fabio Moon are twin brothers.
Oh, okay.
You have to really know their art really well to tell the difference between the two guys. So this is just to give you a sample. Okay, this is Fabio Moon's artwork. The backup story that's in this is Gabriel Bra's artwork. Okay, there are fine differences, but they're a lot alike, the two guys. So much so that they did the artwork on a book called Day Tripper that came out by Vertigo. Incredible book. Yeah. Everyone should read it. They switched duties. They switched duties in that, doing art through that entire thing, and you wouldn't be able to tell the difference. So those two guys swapped back and forth. For a while, it was Gabriel Bra that did the artwork on it, and then Fabio Moon took over for a while. But the original Casanova, I really feel like, is what put Matt Fraction on the face of the comic book world. He did an image first for $1. The comic was $1 when it first came out, many moon ago, and yeah, it was awesome then, and it's just really cool now. There's just lots of weird little stuff about it I like. They're fighting these cultists, and as they're fighting the cultists are saying stuff, and this is what the cultists are saying. Their word bubbles are just like samples of weird sigils because they're speaking a language nobody knows. I don't know. I just like it. There's a lot of stylized crap about it that I just love. I can gush on Casanova for hours on end. I won't. I don't know. For some people,
I ordered the trade on it, and I've got that first issue in my file.
Yeah, I have the singles, and I plan on picking up the deluxe hardcovers of it. I love it that much. So, yeah. I'm trying to check comments here. I don't know what's going on. So, any other independent books you want to talk about? I have a ton that I can talk about, but I don't want to talk about it.
I want to talk about 13 Coins.
All right.
I don't know that anybody other than me and Mercy Soul Show are reading this book. It's Simon Beasley.
Love his art.
And do what now?
I love his art. It can be sexist as all hell, but I love it.
I like this cover because of the fact that with all the butt shot controversy that is going on in comics now, it's just funny that somebody from like the 80s would be like, you know what, I'm just going to put a chick in a thong on my cover.
Yep.
But this story has been really, really good. It's about these demons that were shot down from heaven during the war between Lucifer and the heavens, and they had these 13 coins, and the 13 coins bring about like the I don't know, not the second coming, but this like biblical war, and as long as the key, which is the firstborn, doesn't exist, then that can't happen. But now on Earth, you have the firstborn, and it is just a really, really good comic. I didn't like issue 3 on this, but issue 4 was freaking amazing. I mean, he was just flat out, busting out into his firstborn, kicking people through walls, and doing whatever needed to happen. And that is just, it's just a great book. And the art on it, I mean, it's Simon Beasley, so I mean,
Is
it's
he
just,
writing
it's
that,
awesome.
or is he just doing the art?
No, he's just doing the art on it.
Okay.
Martin Brinson is writing it.
And that's put out by what? Titan?
It's put out by Titan, yeah.
Okay. Smaller company, a
but
lot
yeah,
of people might not know about. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, there's not very many people that I've seen read that. I mean, Mercy is the only person that I've seen read that other than me, and it's just an awesome book. It kind of came in under the radar because it's a Titan book. And,
I read the first part digitally.
Yeah,
Oh.
the first 2 were amazing.
Well, it wasn't, to start out with, it didn't sound like it was going to ever get printed anywhere. And
Yeah.
and because it was Beasley, and I'm a big Beasley fan, from his Doom Patrol stuff, covers, and Hellblazer covers and stuff like that, I wanted to at least check it out and to see him doing interiors on a book, because he doesn't do a lot of interiors.
Yeah.
So,
Well, I mean,
yeah.
my whole thing
Sometime.
with this book right now is that I went to a con a couple of years ago, and when I met him, it was a little odd, like meeting your legends or whatever. He was I didn't really care much for him, and now that I've read this, now that I'm reading this book, I mean, I'm gonna continue to buy his stuff because I love his stuff. But I don't know. 13 Coins is really good. It changed my opinion.
Cool.
Well,
I don't. I try not to judge any creator by one experience that I have with them at a con. Try not
definitely.
to, because you don't know what's going on with them. The last person that came up and talked to him could have been a total shithead, and so they're still feeling that when you walk up to them next.
Yeah.
So,
True.
so I try not to, unless their behavior
I'll
goes
continue
beyond
to
just.
buy people. I mean, people that I love, I'll continue to buy them until the end of time. I mean, and I mean, it's kind of the way that I was with this, and I mean, it's just a really good book. It's a really fun read. Really good story.
Cool. So, what was it you picked up, Mike?
I got the Judge Dredd Classics, and this is just where he faces the dead judges. It is a reprint from the 2000 ADs. So if anybody sees it, it's not original. They're reprints, and then they have, I think it was like 3 issues in that little one comic. So they kind of resized it. As you can see, there's a lot of extra white page in there, so they resized it from the original giant format. And it's just for those people who like Judge Dredd and don't have everything already in hardbound. So
cool.
So they're doing a whole Judge Dredd judges thing, right? They're going to do Judge what is that? Judge Death?
I'm not sure.
This
one was just a reprinting of some of the old issues.
Yeah, I think they're doing like 3 or 4 different reprintings of those old issues, because that one I was going to pick up, and then I saw that they were doing like another like 3 or 4 different judges.
All right, and I would just say I think they're just doing it for those people who haven't bought the hardcovers, maybe trying to draw them back into getting the big collector's editions. So
Sure.
That looked really, really good.
It was nice. It's just, it's nothing original. So if you like Judge Dredd, it's what you expect.
Steven, you got any other books you want to talk about? Any books?
I got Alex and Ada number 12.
Oh, yeah.
And, this is like one of Image's like hidden gems. Like this is.
That's what I keep hearing.
It's so good. Like in this issue, we dive more into Alex and Ada's relationship, and they're still trying to they're still trying to. They're kind of keeping their relationship hidden because the government has found out that people are making androids sentient, and there was this huge incident that a sentient killed a family. So like the government's putting like major restrictions on androids, and one of Alex's best friends has found out about their relationship, and it just like it's so like I don't know. The beginning page is really like really heartbreaking. I was like, because I don't know. I care a lot about these characters. I started reading it digitally, and then once I really got hooked into it, I picked up the singles, and it's been just so good. We find more of Alex's friends are not. There's some of Alex's friends that are not really, into Ada and just the idea of, Alex just, picking up having this android around and stuff, and just things things come to a boil, and it's just like, it's very soap opera-ish, but it's so like, once you get into a soap opera and you just kind of digging into the characters and you just kind of like invested, and it's just, this is how I am with this book, and I just know things aren't going to go well. Like there's going to be no like happy ending, I think, because we have only 3 issues left, I think, left of this series.
Oh, really?
So yeah, things are about to pick up. The final couple of pages, we see one of Ada's non-sentient android friends, and it's kind of confusing on what's happening to her, but it's definitely not good. So things are going to start going downhill pretty soon with these final 3 issues, but it's really really good. Like it's something that I definitely recommend for anyone to try out the first volume. It's awesome.
I'm gonna have to, because I just hear nothing bad about it. So,
yeah.
And I like the idea, the ideas that are going on there and whatnot. It's curious. It makes you think that it should be some pretty awesome stuff. Let's see. I got a ton of books. Sundowners issue number, what is this, 5? 6. Issue number 6. This ends the first arc. It gets all kinds of crazy. They get in a huge battle. They seem to exhibit superpowers, those of them that have superpowers. This is a book I've always questioned whether or not these people are crazy or not. There's some great lines in here of our character that has to sin to get her powers. She does some fun stuff to in amongst the battles and whatnot to get enough power to do stuff. I thought I had it all figured out. Clearly the stuff's really happening. There's all this chaos as they've gone to this church to battle this evil thing that's taking over everything. And our psychologist and this reporter who's like stalking the psychologist to basically out him as being a fraud. There's this big battle going on in this like swimming pool area, and they show up there to see what's going on, and all of our heroes are, well, okay, so there's this page up here where they're clearly fighting these ghosty skull things. They're all battling. They're being overwhelmed by this whole situation. Our reporter and the doctor get in the room, and this is what they see.
Oh.
There's nothing there. So I finally thought, oh, this stuff's all real. It's all real, because about issue 3, I was going, I don't know what's real and what's not real anymore as far as what's really going on. And by this issue, I thought it's nailed down. I get it. It's all this. This is what it is and everything. And then there's that scene where, so now it's like they've decided that they're the only people who can see these monsters. So I'm back to, once again, I'm not 100% sure that this alien threat that's coming from another dimension that's slowly getting into people's brains and turning them into whatever and stuff, I'm still not 100% sure that's really happening, or somehow these people are having a group hallucination. One of them suggests something and everybody just kind of goes with it. But it ended really cool. They get in this battle at the end, and they decide, well, they're the only ones that can see this stuff, and they're going to have to keep going forward and whatnot. So I really enjoyed it. The next issue that comes out in February, the cover art for it is really fascinating. This is the cover art for it. You got this kind of skinny Santa Claus dude, this woman smacking her fist together. She looks like she's wearing a tracksuit. And this other lady, I think it's a lady, I don't know. So I don't know if the next issue, the next story arc is going to be other Sundowners, or if those guys are supervillains, or what. I'm not 100% sure. But I'm really digging it. As much as it sounds like I don't know what's going on, I mean, I kind of do, but it's just been a lot of fun. It's been a lot of fun. So I don't know. I'm liking it now. Wasn't sure to start out with, but
I am always interested to hear every month that comes out what's going on with that.
Yeah. Well, they finally attack the church. They get to the character who is named Dove, who is the she calls herself Luminatrix or something like that now. At the last moment, the heroes talk her out of opening up the evil dimension. You know, don't you remember when you were this other person, you were actually trying to help us? You basically you sided with the wrong team, and at the last second, she decides to side with them. She ends up getting herself killed, I think, by the end of it. But you know, but I don't know. It's bizarre, but it's interesting too. Anybody read Effigy? Vertigo miniseries by Tim Seeley. Yeah, another Tim Seeley book. Yeah, Tim Seeley wrote this book also.
I've been looking forward to this book for about 4 or 5 months.
Yeah, so what'd you think, Tom?
I was a little disappointed.
Yeah.
I didn't think it had near as much story as I thought it was going to have. Although I thought it had the story that I thought it was going to have, if that makes any sense. You know, you start out with this whole what's going on with the show, and
we get a children's show at the beginning.
You got a children's show at the beginning, and then you've got the interrelation between her and her mother. You know, that was a little bizarre because it seemed, I don't know, that she was kind of being manipulated and all. I don't know. This issue was just, it was really bizarre to me. It seems like I need a second issue to kind of sort out what was going on in this first issue. You know, there was a lot going on in this issue. What's going on with the body that's buried in the Serpent Mound? What's going on with her and these people that are not necessarily stalkers, but you know, just rabid fans, and everything that was going on with this issue was just kind of I don't know. I feel like I need a second issue of that to really get where it is that maybe they're trying to take me. I don't know. I mean, I love Tim Seeley, and you know, the story was good, and you know, like I say, I just maybe it's going to take another issue or two to really get where that's going.
Yeah. So the premise of the story is we have this child actress. As a child, she was part of this show that's kind of a mix of the Wiggles and Power Rangers kind of a thing. You know, as an idea of just how out there it is. This whole kind of Captain Space Feather thing and whatnot. And so we get a couple pages of that, and then we get this woman who is giving out parking tickets. And she was this child actress way back in the day. She was obviously part of Hollywood. She embraced the whole big-headed snottiness, I guess. The person she's ticketing basically scolds her for looking down her noses at everybody. She was never going to come back to this town, and here she is back in this town. And not only is she back in this town, she's a meter maid. You know, I mean, oh boy, is she living the high life. Then, like Tom says, we have this. She goes home after, you know, ticketing people and having this really horrible experience. The lady, you know, scolds her and calls her all this stuff and whatnot, and gets in her car and drives away. And this guy, who's wearing a shirt. He's got a, I don't know, baseball cap, and he's wearing a shirt that says "I give free breast exams." You know, that kind of a guy, right? says her name. He goes, "Oh, you're so and so," and she's like, "Yeah," and he's like, "Hey, loved your sex tape." So then she goes on to explain how, yes, she was this child star. The child acting quit. She was pigeonholed. No one would hire her for anything else because they could only see her as this goofy, kid. So she did a sex tape and faked like it got leaked for the whole scandal and shock. Maybe that wasn't one of her mother's best ideas.
Oh.
The thing that I really didn't like about this issue was her mother.
Oh, but I loved her mother because she's just an evil bitch. If you would have taken her mother
out of this issue, I think I would have liked this issue better.
Oh.
It was like the way that she was like doing this whole toddlers and tiaras thing. I really didn't care for her in that.
Yeah, she's basically, her mom is the stage mom, we should be living the high life, and so clearly mom will do anything to get back to that, because, obviously suggesting that her daughter do, a sex tape to a quote-unquote leak. But then you have this whole conversation with mom. She's like, there's this, in the background, there's what looks to be like, I'm drawing a blank on her name. The girl that played Hannah Montana. Miley Cyrus in the background. Mom is just burning on her, talking about the pores in her face, and just all this stuff, and how they should be all Hollywood. She's still living in this.
She needs to get Botox on her lips and not on her face.
Yeah, or not in her ass or something like that. Yeah. But at any rate, so she's evil and awful, but you're not supposed to like her. That's the whole point of her. So clearly this is a life that this poor girl is living. Well, she suddenly gets this call from the police chief, and the police chief wants her to go and investigate this murder. Well, she's a meter maid. What would she have to do with it? So she gets to this whole place where this mound is at. It's the effigy mound. That's why it's called one of the reasons it's called effigy. And they find this body that's mummified, but it's not an old body. It's got a 9mm bullet hole in its head, and on her back is this massive tattoo of this woman's show from when she was a kid. Also, we get exposed to this other woman who is turning tricks, I'm assuming. And she's freaking out because she's watching the news while she's working. She's watching the news, and she glances, and just a very brief shot of this child actress is on the screen. It doesn't say who she is, but of course this rabid fan knows exactly who she is, and she freaks out because she thinks that this woman must be talking to her again because she's back on the screen. So she's a diehard rabid fan too. So how this stuff is all going to collide, who knows? That's the mystery that's going to be coming forward that's set up in this first issue. I actually really liked that. I thought it was fun. I'm excited to see what's next. I like the mom. There's a bizarre thing at the very end of it. We got like the producer or writer of the show is at the end of it. He's living some, kind of hedonistic life. There's something to do with him in the show. Somebody sends him like a $3 million paycheck. He drops it on the ground and pees on it. So I don't know what that's going to go on with that dude at the very end. That's bizarre.
What is up with that?
You know what that is? That's to make you and me go, what the hell's up with that, and get the next issue.
Yeah. I'm in about the second issue anyway, but that was just bizarre.
Yeah. I don't know. I liked it. It's got some fun kind of setups. We'll see how it all plays out and what the teases are and whatnot. It's going to be interesting to see this woman trying to take her new life somewhat seriously, even though she's got this whole Hollywood thing haunting her at the same time, and how that all meshes out will be cool. I think so.
I think that Tim Seeley writes really good crime stories, so that'll be really interesting.
Yeah. Speaking of Tim Seeley, here's another Tim Seeley book that came out this week, Revival. This is issue 27. I love this cover of one of our main characters standing in a lake full of fish, and the fish are all zombie fish. They're all revival fish. I do kind of figure out in this issue how this happens, because supposedly only humans are revivalists, but we had a deer a few issues ago that suddenly showed up that was half dead. The story continues. It's fascinating. It's interesting. I don't think I have a lot I can say about it without giving something away. They find M and a couple people have been looking for this professor who disappeared. We all know how the professor disappeared if you've been reading the book, but the characters don't know how he disappeared. They do finally find him. in the bottom of a well. He's a reviver also. So I don't know what's going to happen out of that. It was pretty cool and pretty grim. And of course, there's other small little things going on. The anti-government guy has gotten a hold of one of the deputies and it's got a whole bunch of stuff to burn something up, and I don't know. There's some potential for some absolute chaos. This is one of those books that's kind of like you talk about Ida and Ada being kind of soap opera-y. It's very, very serialized. You really need every issue to really get the full effect, because it will go back and reference something that happened 12 issues ago, kind of a thing. It will suddenly show back up in the story, which I love. I love that. I love that deep. Of course, it calls it a real noir, and it is. It really. I will continue to call it kind of a Twin Peaks of sorts. It just has its own weird situation going on, different from what Twin Peaks was. Which, of course, if you haven't watched that TV show, you really should. But I'm loving it. Every issue I love. It's just great. I'll keep reading as long as it keeps coming out, because it's just enough stuff to kind of keep this rich world that it's got going on. So.
How many issues is there of all that right now?
27. That was issue 27.
27?
Yeah, there's at least 3 trades out, and I think there's like a deluxe version out too. I think.
Yeah,
but
let me check
I'm
that out.
on it. Any other indie books people want to talk about?
Dying in the Dead.
Yeah, what's that like? Dang it! I have a comic book store, right?
It's really thick.
Yeah, I finally went to my comic book store and they didn't have it. So.
Yeah, it's really thick. It was really interesting. It was kind of like reading the first 40 or 50 pages of an actual book.
What do you mean? Like lots of text and not much in the way of pictures, or?
Well, no. I mean the art and the story together just gave you so much stuff that was going on in this book. And when I finished reading this book, I think it's 60 pages. When I finished reading this book, I felt like I had 40 or 50 pages of actually novel text that I'd read. In between the actual text and the art itself, because the art in this also tells a really good story. This book is it's about a guy who his wife has cancer, and in World War II he was a colonel, and now he's making a deal with the devil in order to cure his wife of cancer, because these people are immortals. And there's this guy who is a Hitler type of person, who is the counterpart to what's happening with that they're trying to eliminate him, and the immortals are going to be eliminated if this guy takes over. So they go out and they hire this guy that's about to die. He's got nothing else to live for except for him and his wife, and they do whatever it takes to make him take their deal, and to go out and fight these evil powers. And it was really good. I don't know that it was as good as I've heard. I don't know as good as I've heard a lot of people talk about it being, but it was pretty good.
So it's a Hickman book, right?
Yeah, it's a Hickman book, and I'm not a huge fan of Hickman. So for me to say that this is a pretty good book, it is something, because I'm a huge fan. But I thought that the story in this, I thought the art and everything that was going on in this, that it was a really good concept for a book. That after this issue, you're going to jump down to 32 pages. I don't really know about that, but yeah, it was really pretty good.
I think a lot of people will agree that Hickman writes for the long haul in a lot of ways. so you have to read a lot to get a payoff for Hickman. That's been my experience. It took a while for like East to West to really get firing. Now it doesn't seem like you're waiting for anything for exciting stuff to happen in that book. But I know like with a lot of the superhero stuff he writes anyway that's the case. You are going to read a lot of issues for whatever the payoff is down the road. So
I mean, this is out of the like I don't know 10, 11, 12 comics or whatever I read this week. I mean, this is definitely like a top 2 comic I read this week. I mean, it was that good. The story in it, everything that was going on.
Well, you're certainly getting
amazing.
unless you hate it, you're certainly getting your money's worth, right? Because how much was the book?
$4.50 for 60 pages.
For 60 pages,
so you're getting like half. You're getting half a trade.
Right.
For you know.
Yeah.
But,
So
I mean,
I
said, I don't really like Hickman. I don't really like Hickman's stories. So for the fact that I would give any kind of a, this was awesome.
Yeah.
Is I think saying something.
Yeah.
Wonky, could you show some of that art? Because was there just a lot of discussion?
No, the art is freaking amazing. The art is the star of this book. I mean, it is absolutely. It fades back and forth between like a really colored style and a really black and forth style.
So hold the page for us up and hold it there for a few moments so we get time to actually see it.
I really want to see. Okay, so like this guy right here, he is the like Adolf Hitler of the pack, and all of the like current stuff is in a more of a colored fashion. Everything that's in the past is more of a black and white fashion.
Oh, cool.
And I mean, it's just. I mean, I don't know. Like I said, I mean, I'm not a huge fan of him, but I really think it was like one of the top 2 books that I read this week of everything that I read. And there's a lot of stuff I read this week that I thought was amazing.
I'm gonna have to order it somewhere.
Yeah, I would strongly recommend. I mean, anybody that is out there trying to read any kind of indie stuff. I mean, this was definitely a good book. I didn't want to pick this up. My comic guy was like arguing with me. I fought with him for like 45 minutes when I was in the shop the other day, and he's like, "You've got to pick this up," and I'm like, "I'm not gonna pick that up, dude. I don't like him, and I'm not gonna pick it up." And then I saw a couple of videos. I picked it up. Awesome book.
Yeah,
I stand corrected.
So, briefly going back to Effigy, Ryan C says that he thinks that the mother is modeled after the Kardashians' mother. Thankfully, I don't watch that show, so I have no idea. And Senior Mute Happy over on Google Plus was saying that he likes the mother too. So hey, the question and answer thing does work. That's great.
All right.
Glad somebody using it.
So you get Google and you get your comments. That's freaking awesome.
Yeah, every once in a while it lines up and works. So, any other indie books you want to talk about? I have other books I could talk about, but I won't. I mean, I'm just going to. But latest issue of Life After continues to be awesome. I laughed my ass off through most of this issue. It's hilarious. You run into an ancient god in this. There's a giant freaking rabbit, and of course we have this demon that's been hired to take out our main character. She gets captured by these little kids. All these kids capture them, and these are like the souls of children that died before they could really have a life to be determined whether they're. I think before they could be determined whether they were, should go to hell or should go to heaven. So this is kind of they're in this limbo land, and they hang out with this giant rabbit. I mean, this giant like Buddha type rabbit.
Whoa.
So, which is
cool.
just awesome. It's in this cave. They captured the demon lady. They're kind of knocking her around. She gets pissed off. She turns to a demon. She's like, "I'm gonna slaughter all you guys," and he's like, and then she's like, this big monster demon. She sees the rabbit. And she's like, "That's a gigantic rabbit," and the rabbit says, "I am Oscomedatl, I can't say her name, it's some ancient sounding name. I'm the last of the old gods. I will remove your anger and give you a ride on my extremely fluffy tummy. And she's and the rabbit goes, okay. And the demon goes, I would love that. And that completely pacifies the demon. That was hilarious. There's all kinds of hilarious stuff in that book. It's pretty funny. So happy to have it.
Trade just came out for that too.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
It's fun. It's fun. I mean, if you don't like lighthearted discussion around religion and potential life after, it would not be a book for you. If you're not offended by that, not that they're offensive, but I do know. I mean, they do play with a lot of that stuff. So if you are offended by that,
who is it that writes that? I forget.
That's Joshua Hale Falcoff.
Oh, okay.
Same guy who writes Bunker.
Yeah.
Wrote I, Vampire. I'm missing something else. He writes something else. I don't remember what it was though. Picked up Sex Criminals. Absolutely loved this issue of Sex Criminals. There's some wonderful personal moments in it. The stuff that kind of keeps me hanging around reading Sex Criminals. Some great personal moments between Susie and John, and some stuff with John's psychologist that is really fascinating also. And then at the end of it, you get back into the whole sex police part of it, which is bizarre but amusing too. But there's just lots of good stuff in it. Every time I think, oh, this might be the issue that, I might be coming to an end, brilliant actual personal stuff goes on in it that just makes it enjoyable to read and different from everything else that's out there. So I keep hanging around to read it. I haven't read the letters page in probably, this is issue 10 for at least 7 issues, and I think I enjoy it more when I don't do that. So and picked up the last of the Vertigo quarterlies. This is Black. There's some incredible stories in this issue. There's a kind of a space.
How much is that?
How much is this?
So $3.99.
$7.99.
Nah.
$7.99. Right. So I mean, most people are going to avoid it. I like anthologies. It's super thick. I enjoyed it. There's a great story at the very beginning. A Francisco Francavilla story of some people out in space and something black coming to get them. It's just got his incredible art. It's like 6 pages. It's like 6 pages, and it is, well, it's eerie. If something you don't know comes and gets you in outer space while you're out in a spacesuit, I don't know how it's anything but terrifying. And it was really cool. There's a if you're a Sweet Tooth fan, there's a little Sweet Tooth story in here before Gus goes to the city. So that's kind of fun by Lemire in it.
And that's an untold story, correct?
Untold story. This is all new stuff. Right. Untold story. There's this story called The Fade, which is just kind of a really cool, more art, more poetry kind of a story than a story, which I really loved. It basically is like 5 pages of, black. The first scene is 4 panels of somebody like walking on the ice and falling through the ice, and then it goes black again. And then the next panel is like the dying of time, dinosaurs, something happens, the meteors hit Earth, black, dinosaurs are gone, goes through all that, and then comes back to the person that fell under the ice, except they're on the wrong side of the ice, clearly, and it goes to black. Really kind of a really cool story as far as that goes. A couple sci-fi stories in it that are interesting. There's a story about a black World War I war hero, celebrated that he's a war hero, trying to get his due pay because he's a wounded veteran in the 20s, not getting what he should be because, of course, he's a Negro, who cares, kind of a thing, and him kind of living his life and dying and being buried in Arlington. The art is done by Leon, so it's really great. It's really great art. John Paul Leon, great art in there. A couple other stories that are really cool, and of course ends with a Fabio Moon story, and of course, as we all know, I'm a huge Fabio Moon fan, so that's it. But I really liked it. It was cool.
Is that the end of the whole quarterly thing? Because I know it's like 4 colors.
Yes,
So.
the black was the last one.
Okay.
The last one of this. Now they're doing another quarterly, I believe, or at least they're putting out another anthology in March, which is it's called Extreme Sport. So it's going to be a bunch of people do that too. These are spendy. They're thick. I mean, so they are an investment. I am just a really big fan of kind of the anthology kind of book. It's cool to see these different people. People like, because I mean, for all the names I named here that I know who they are, there's a lot of stuff in here by people I don't know who they are, and it's just kind of cool to get a sampling of who else is out there, what kind of stories are they telling, and what kind of art, other art and writing is out there. Because hopefully someday these people will see them someplace else. I enjoy it for that too. So, but yeah, they are spendy. There's no doubt about it. An $8 comic book can be rough. So, but this is by far
Can I talk about
by
one more
far
book?
out of them. That's like sure. Go ahead.
Winterworld. I've turned to like 4 or 5 people onto this in the last few weeks, and it's basically Waterworld on ice, and I really enjoy this book. And issue 7 kind of introduced us to a new villain. Our main hero got a love interest, and just everything that's going on in this book is, I just think, man, it's so great. Chuck Dixon, which I don't know anything that Chuck Dixon has done, but is this story is just freaking awesome. And there's several stories that are coming out in the next month and a half, 2 months, including like a trade paper and a 0 issue that are going to give background on these characters. And I just wish more people read this.
I'm no longer a Chuck Dixon fan, so I won't pick it up.
No.
I won't pick it up for political reasons. Is why I won't pick it up. Chuck Dixon, Chuck Dixon is responsible for Birds of Prey, just to give you an idea of some of the stuff he's done. So he's done some great stuff. I mean, I own a lot of his prior work and whatnot, but he's ventured off into the realm of stuff that I won't get into here, but I don't buy anything by Chuck Dixon anymore.
Was that New 52 Birds of Prey?
No, Birds of Prey.
Current 52 Birds of Prey.
No,
Is
the original Birds of Prey.
Yeah.
He wrote Birds of Prey. He wrote Birds of Prey and Suicide Squad stuff before Gail Simone did.
All right.
Huh.
Gail Simone took over the team, I believe, from him.
I'd be interested sometime to understand why it is that I don't need to buy Chuck Dixon.
Well, I mean, that's
this story is amazing.
Each to his own, and I said he's a great writer. There's a lot of stuff he's written that I enjoy. I'll off air I'll talk to you about it, Tom. Anyway, so Matt Hammer is saying that the Vertigo Quarterly isn't done. The black isn't the last one. That it's going to go on with the SFX now, the Extreme Sports and that sort of stuff. I guess what I was saying, the color one is done. The theme of colors for this last year is done now. They've got a new theme, so it looks like that the Quarterly is going to continue to go on under the whole. I guess it is technically called Vertigo Quarterly.
Yeah.
And now they've got a new theme that they're going to go with. So.
All right.
Anyway. But yeah. So. Any other indie stuff we think we need to talk about? Since we've talked about indie for over an hour now.
I'm fresh out.
Okay. What do I talk about next? Want to talk Marvel? Want to talk DC? I actually have both today. So. Mike, what are we talking?
Let's go ahead and do Marvel then.
Okay.
Thor. This is the confrontation between the male and female counterparts, and
between Thor, Odin's son, and Thor, right?
and New Thor. Yeah.
Hey, wait a second. You say there's a fight between them? the pictures I saw didn't look like a fight. If that's fighting, I want to do more fighting in my life.
There was some fighting. I mean,
Oh, is there?
like,
Okay, because
yeah,
all I
yeah.
saw was the making out part.
No, there was. It starts off because Odinson wakes up in Asgard. His father tells him, "Calm down. You're not going back to Midgar." He's like, "Well, I'm missing an arm, and I'm awfully pissed off." His goat dragged him from the ocean all the way back, and so Toothgrinder took care of him, and they bring in a dwarf who has a new metal arm for him,
Yeah.
made out of the same substance as Molinar.
Okay.
And Dad tells him, "Oh, by the way, yeah, your hammer is missing, and so is your mother."
Yeah.
And so now, don't you feel like you were really led to a certain
Yeah, I was
conclusion?
like, oh, here we go. This is it, guys. This is the issue. And
Yeah.
then,
So we still don't know who Thor is.
No,
But,
Odinson gets
but clearly not his mother. Like some people thought maybe it was mom, right?
no, and that's where the kiss comes in, because she does
Right.
kiss him and say,
Yeah.
"Do you still think I'm your mother?" And he's like, "Well, I'm awfully confused now."
yeah.
Yeah. Well, and it's
awkward.
not like it's a peck on the cheek either, right?
No,
Oh, no.
Yeah.
No.
It was excellent with as he gets to Midgard instantly. It shows what I always loved about Thor is he is more pigheadish than what he should be. You think he's this trained warrior. No, he is going to fight the girl and get his hammer back. And
Yeah.
it doesn't matter that they're surrounded by ice giants and that the Minotaur, who is the owner of Roxxon right now, it's a human that can transform into a Minotaur, is the danger that's there. Oh, plus, of course, the Malekith, their arm still slung over his neck, Thor's cut off arm. And Thor's like, "I'm going to beat this girl up, and then I'm going to come after you, Malekith, because you have my arm." So she's like, "How about we reverse that, and how about you go for the arm first, then we talk about this?" So, I mean, it's the Marvel, argument in the middle of a battle.
Right.
And it is awesome to a point that I love it, because he is so insistent. He is focused on his hammer. He is bedamn the world because it is his identity, and he's trying to take it from her, and he's arguing, and he's like, I'm the one who's not going to ever let it go, and I'm the one who's truly here, and she's like, "I picked it up because I'm worthy," and
Rubbing his face.
I'd
It
be
probably
pretty
would have
pissed
been
off if
fine,
he took
but
my hammer. I mean, I'm
taps
just
him-
saying.
yeah, she taps him on the chest with Molinar, and that was the breaking
Yeah.
point for him.
He
He
loses his
punches
shit.
her through a wall. And it is excellent because when he goes to try and grab it away from her, she shows him that the hammer does its wonderful spins and arcs and hits all these giants, and he's like, at that point he realizes Molinar never did that for me. Molinar was all about slow arcs. It really is a reflection of the owner, it appears now. And then he realized, he's like, all right, let's defeat all these, and then we'll take care of this. Of course, they defeat the bad guys, save all the good guys, because that's where it's weird. With Axis going on, this doesn't touch Axis, because Falcon, Captain America, is there. His mother is frozen also with all these people, so it's not his mother. But there's all these other superheroes that he saved, and none of them are affected Axis-wise.
Oh.
And as they get back to Asgard, he's like, I am the Odin's son. I am unworthy. I am the unworthy. She is the worthy. And she doesn't show who she is. She just takes off from there. So obviously, waiting for issue 5. This is issue 4.
Yeah. I mean, like, the fight scene was just so well done. Like, Matthew Wilson and Russell Dodderman are just like such a combo. Like, it's so good. Some of the fight scenes were like really well done with the I'm a big fan of those the sounds and the different colors that Wilson puts on it. and he just emphasizes it a lot. And yeah, I mean, everything you said was just spot on. Like, I really don't know who this new Thor is. Like, I have one name. Like, I'm just gonna throw it out there. It might be Jane Foster, but some of it, like, I thought didn't she like die or something? I'm not really.
Is she the one that died? Is she the one that died of cancer?
I think so, right? I'm not.
I thought she was in issue whatever happened right before this arc.
Mhm.
That I think she had her head all wrapped up because she's fighting cancer or whatever, and I think she leaves with somebody. But I believe Travis mentioned previously it could be Valkyrie and her human girlfriend, because there is still, they didn't play it up as much, but the two voices.
Yeah, the two voices really kind of, I was iffy. So
yeah, it
So-
seems to tone down quite a bit.
Yeah.
What month is it that the End of All Times is going to happen? Is that in June?
Oh, Secret Wars? Battle
Yeah,
I
World?
think it's like
Secret
May, June.
Wars.
Well, yeah, it's like I think Secret Wars is like in June, but there's a bunch of books that are tying into it in advance of the actual Secret Wars hitting. So I don't know.
It's odd to me that this whole Thor thing started right before the Secret Wars.
So are you suggesting that the Secret Wars is going to be a way to throw female Thor under the bus and get male Thor back?
Yeah, exactly. Exactly what Sarge was saying about the regular Thor and the female Thor, having a fight out. That this whole Secret Wars thing is going to be a way to have Falcon and Captain America and Thor and female Thor, fight it out for,
Well,
not really
I think it's a
supremacy,
possibility. When she takes off, she says, "I am the mighty Thor," which was another series that they did where they had Thor and Mighty. So I could see them make Odin's son the original and bring one of the other Molinars from another universe in.
Yeah.
And
It
then,
just seems like they're lagging this Thor toward the Secret Wars.
I don't know. I do think it's interesting that, like, I'm reading Loki, and Thor's in Loki, and Thor already had the mechanical arm, the magical arm. I'm assuming it's not mechanical, but whatever. Already had that. We were already out in. So clearly, Thor is behind where the story is, where I'm at with Loki. But not that
and this
matters
is only
a whole lot,
about a day, maybe 2 days. I mean, that's the thing too. This is however many months out, issue 4. And it really is only like 1 or 2 days. So
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, like, Jason Aaron has said in interviews that, like, this is not a gimmick. We're really gonna, go with this female Thor and just kind of just flesh out her character and her story and stuff. And I'm all in on this new Thor. Like, after reading 4 issues of this, like, I want more. Like, I seriously, what Thor did in this issue to really just kind of, put this female Thor over. Like, she's not a gimmick. She's like, I can hold my own. I can wield Mjolnir better than you can. It's just, I'm just loving this. Like, I would love this for a long time. Like, this Jason Aaron, Russell Donnerman, Matthew Wilson combo, I'll have this all day. Like, I'd rather have this, like, for a long time. It's really, through 4 issues, it's been fantastic.
It's one of those books that I couldn't just find to pick up. I didn't get on it initially and kicking myself for not, because everybody talks about how awesome it is, and it just sounds cool. It sounds like a blast. I mean, I personally am still suspicious as to how long they're actually committed to this. I don't care what the creators tell us in interviews and whatnot.
Yeah.
I don't think they're going to tell us anything other than that they're rock solid on it. But it sounds like a lot of people are buying it, and so it's making money. They're not. I don't. Part of me says that they're not. Why would they throw it under the bus? And I think that Mike, their Sergeant America, has got a good thought in the fact that you throw the Mighty Avenger out there. If we're gonna, that's a way for him to keep her book around and still give us back the Odin's son Thor, which then lines up, of course, for all their other media type stuff with movies and all that kind of thing. Because I just think I still in my head, I just think it'll be really strange to have a female Thor and you know, so but on the big screen, it's a guy. You know, so if you do happen to go to the store to buy Thor, suddenly you're gonna pick it up and there's this lady in it, which is awesome, but at the same time kind of throws.
I don't know. I read one and two, and 1 and 2 were freaking awesome.
Yeah.
They were really good, and I mean, I've got 3 and 4 in my file, and I'll read them. I mean, they're that 1 and 2 was really, really, really good.
They are strong. It's a whole strong series. The one thing I do want to say is, once again, it's the big 2, and I feel that we got really crappy cover. I mean, I have left fingerprints at that point where your finger is just moist enough or whatever to hold it so it doesn't slip. As you pull your finger away, you're going to find a fingerprint on it.
Yeah. I just love this cover. This cover is like definitely one of my favorites.
It's really pretty.
Yeah. Matthew Wilson's colors are just
the whole artwork inside. Yeah, I just thought particularly amazing also, so that I get this double-page spread of the two of them fighting in there. It's just
fun to look at. It's just it's really good art.
Yeah. Matt Hammer brings it up that, you know, I want to know if we read Fearless Defenders, which I did. Yeah, that he stopped reading it, but he's questioning the whole, you know, the Annabelle and Valkyrie thing too, if that's potentially could be this person, especially if she's got these two, you know, potentially two voices going on, you know, kind of a thing that it really could be. And that would be an awesome use of the character, because that was a great character. Even after, like I said, even once they became one character, it was a cool combo. You could tell a lot of great story long term, you know, over that sort of stuff. So that would be could be cool.
Well, and that is kind of the Thor mythology, where he would turn into, you know, Dr. Blake. And I think that's the thing that they're missing.
Yeah. Yeah, because Matt Hammer says, you know, I'm wondering with her what her status is, that character, that Valkyrie character. He says, I'm wondering what her status is right now, because obviously it is someone who has interacted with Odin's son and Freya in the past. Of course, then he says it could still be Clayface.
Yeah.
Oh boy.
But yeah, so that's an interesting you know, a thought. I mean, if that's who it is, I think that's a cool use of recycling a character that I think a lot of fans really were getting into when that book got canceled. So that would be cool. Cool. Anything else you want to say about Thor?
Please
read it.
Please pick it up.
Pick it up. Get in trade.
Yeah. Yeah. So, other Marvel books you want to talk about? Well,
anybody else
talk about this? Wolverine?
Oh, I'm sorry.
Right.
I dropped it.
Damn you!
All right, Travis, the floor is yours.
Yeah.
Well, that's it right there. That's it. That's it in a nutshell. Mike has the advantage of buying his at a store and not ordering them in advance. So at any moment he can go, "This is bullshit," and I'm done. And whereas I still think I have 8 issues to go before I am done with this damn thing. Yeah, it continues to kind of go nowhere. This issue, the heroes fight, because, you know, it's a Marvel book, and that's what heroes do, is they fight each other. So, you know, a quarter of the book is that. Then a quarter of the book is them showing, you know, her deciding, okay, after they fight for a while, Mystique shows up, you know, basically hits the person they're fighting with sleeping gas. She falls asleep. Even though she's immune to that sort of stuff, somehow Mystique's got something to put her out. And then, of course, she wakes up. Then she's their friend. She's helping them figure out how to break into, what's his name, Mr. Sinister? Is that his name?
Yeah.
How to break into his place. She thinks it's going to be just a fun party because that's what she does. And Doc and walks around for a while being angsty. And we do find out that it's Mr. Sinister's goal to resurrect Wolverine. For what purpose, we don't know, but that's his goal. But still, really not a whole lot happens. It does not progress. Granted, it's a weekly book, so it doesn't have to progress as far, but really something needs to go on. You know?
Is that the Soul issue? That Charles Soule writing one?
No. This is the Fox, but I am not saying the Soul issues might be a little. The Soul issues have better dialogue. The dialogue's a little clunkier in this one, but the Soul issues are spinning their wheels just as much as this is. So it's not like every odd issue is glorious and then Fox's issues stink. I don't know how long this is supposed to go on, but it feels right now. It feels like they're taking a 5 or 6 issue story arc and turning it into 30 issues is what it feels like. And it's not giving. I mean, I can see where maybe that would be cool if it was like a Alex and Ada book where you're getting that much more conversation, much more into their personalities, much more into the stuff that makes you rich and invested. You're not getting that in this. You know, that's not what's here. It's not like it's digging into the deep personalities and enriching us with the nuances of these characters. That is not happening. This is, you know, a standard superhero affair, and they've just like I said, they've taken that and they've stretched it out to unenjoyable limits. As a matter of fact, this will probably be the last time you hear me talk about this book, even though I will still be picking it up for a while. I just don't feel like beating on it anymore. I'll keep reading it. If something miraculous happens one way or the other, you might hear me talk about it, but otherwise, yeah, this is it. I don't know. I don't know if the mistake is I'm not that big into the Wolverine universe, and that's why I'm not excited by it. It's not as good as clearly as what Mike and Comic Book Mom were talking about. The stuff before it going into this was because Mike dropped it. So yeah, unfortunate.
So the premise of the series is that Wolverine's died, and you got like these people that are like a super team, like an X team behind that.
Well, you've got one group of people who are the people who are part of the Weapon X program that come from Paradise. Their DNA is structured in a way that they have a very finite amount of time to live. They're literally going to walk along, and all of a sudden it's just going to unzip, and they're going to fall apart dead because they've got this clock ticking on them. They believe that if they get something off of Wolverine's remains, and Wolverine's remains are encased in a giant slag of adamantium, that they can extract something out of there to stop the time bomb that's on them. Okay, so that's why they want Wolverine's body. They somehow have a magic word to control the group of Wolverine people. Okay, and the Wolverine people are Mystique, Sabretooth, Daken, X-23. So they're forcing those characters, the interesting characters, they're forcing those legacy characters to work for them to help them retrieve Wolverine's body because they have this power, this magic power over them by saying these words, and they're like, they can't move or they die or we don't know what all happens to them. Right. And so the whole entire premise is they're out for Wolverine's body. They go to snag Wolverine's body because they think there's going to be some opposition. And lo and behold, Mr. Sinister has shown up. He's snatched up the body and taken some samples off of Doc and taken his arm off, taken his eyeball out for some DNA samples because it now seemingly he is trying to extract what's left of Wolverine out of the adamantium because he wants to resurrect Wolverine for we don't know why.
Wow.
And at this point, I don't care. That's it. That's the only premise.
And
so
you're
far
how many issues into that series? 3?
4. This is 4.
Oh.
I've read it for a month.
The premise was that it's a 4-issue book that Marvel needed money for Travis and buying at least 12 issues.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'll make myself a.
I would have broke up with him for you, Travis. That was wrong. Because
See if I ever trust you guys again.
Yeah, because Weapon X was awesome, and most of the Legacy I really loved. And then it wasn't until the last 2 issues when it was already too late.
Right, I'd already ordered.
That all of a sudden it got weird in a hurry, and everybody kept telling me, all the Death of Wolverine was great, and then the Comic Book Mom read it, and we're like, both of these are great, and then I don't know. At the end, they just flushed.
Yeah.
So was Travis, did you read The Death of Wolverine?
No. No,
No?
I didn't. I didn't read that. I went into this blind. I thought, you know what? I've been reading DC weekly books. Let's try a Marvel weekly book, see what it's like. You know, I was having fun with the DC weekly books. Let's go on a ride for this. I don't hate Wolverine. Wolverine's kind of an interesting character. I like those legacy characters. I love Mystique. I love Sabretooth. I love X-23. I love those people. So I thought, well, this might be a fun ride to see what this kind of crazy thing might be. And like I said, it for what little premise there is, and that's not a whole lot, really, quite honestly. I mean, what they're about. I'm sure there's going to be some exciting things in there as they try to break into Mr. Sinister's place or whatever. But with this uber super stealth character, it should be a cakewalk. Other than picking up a giant slag of adamantium, that's going to be a little hard to walk away with. But I don't know. These characters are, there's a lot of them I don't know. But even the ones I do know, there hasn't been anything about them that makes me invested in why the hell they're doing this. Nothing. So there needs to be, I know it's a superhero comic, but there still needs to be some emotional investment on what's going on, and there isn't that. So, and it's not cool enough otherwise to make it, so. At any rate, enough talking about books I don't care for. I did pick up Uncanny Avengers #1. Way back in the day when the first Marvel Now stuff started, I tried that one and dropped it fairly quickly because I did not like it. I've been digging all of Rick Remender stuff since then, so I thought, well, I'll jump on another Rick Remender book. An interesting makeup of this team: the Vision, Quicksilver, Scarlet Witch, Rogue, the current Captain America, Sabretooth, and Dr. Voodoo. That sounds like a bizarre team, right? That should be some fun mix of whatever. Interesting art. I like this art style, the coloring and stuff. It almost has that kind of painted art that Black Science has to it, the aspect. I don't know completely what's going on because clearly some of this stuff that is in here is in the aftermath of Axis. They're coming off of that. I guess in the Axis stuff, Scarlet Witch and Quicksilver have discovered that Magneto really isn't their dad, supposedly. That it's all been a lie this entire time. So they're a bit shell-shocked over that, and they're trying to figure out what that's about. So in this issue, you've got Scarlet Witch and Quicksilver. They're on, I can't remember what the Earth is called. There's a planet that rotates in the exact rotation that the Earth does around the sun, but it's on the exact opposite side, so you never see it ever. This other world exists, and it's full of these animal people. There's this great scene. There's this bar scene at the beginning where these animal people are talking about how if they got a hold of the Avengers or if they got a hold of all these heroes, they'd just kick the crap out of them. And while they're talking about how they're badass and whatnot, Quicksilver suddenly shows up and goes, "You're right. Yeah, I'd beat them up too if I was there." And they're like, "Hi guys." This big elephant dude pulls a gun on him, and then the next panel, the gun's laying down here. Because this cheetah guy's talking about how he's so much faster than Quicksilver is, and of course they take it to him. There's this great chase scene where Quicksilver really is faster than the cheetah dude. But these cheetah people and all this stuff comes, I guess, Scarlet Witch and Quicksilver, the labs that they spent their childhood in. The Avengers, Rogue is concerned about Scarlet Witch, gathers up these people, hoping that they can help her figure out what's happened because she thinks that Scarlet Witch is in trouble because she's kind of fallen off the face of the map. These people, the friends that are with her, are saying this is typical Scarlet Witch stuff. If we had to gather an Avengers team together every time Scarlet Witch disappeared, we'd have an Avengers team just dedicated to her. Of course, the Vision is Scarlet Witch's ex-husband, so you've got his baggage kind of along. He's still bitter. I don't know what happened to their relationship because way back.
And I was just going to let you know, in Avengers Disassembled, she destroyed him.
Oh, I can see now.
That's where that comes in.
Okay.
So you know what you're
because
she tore them apart.
Yeah, back in the day when I read the book, they were happily married. It was the happily married couple and whatnot. That was in the 80s, so But so this team is gathered together. They're all kind of about finding her. They don't really think it's that big a deal. They're kind of doing it as a favor to Rogue more than anything. They show up at this place where they were originally at. They find out that they teleported to this other Earth. They're getting ready to teleport. The Dr. Witch Doctor is getting ready to cast a spell to get them to this other place. They get jumped by somebody. The spell goes a little wonky, and now they're all scattered all over the place, and who knows where they're at. And that's where the book's at. I actually really enjoyed it, though. It's interesting. I like the characters. I like this style of art. It's a little bit different than your typical superhero Marvel comic book art. So I dug it for that. It could be interesting. So I'm gonna hang on for a while and read it and see what comes of it. So.
What's Sabretooth like in that then?
He is cool. Of course, he's one of the characters that never went back from the thing. They're using him as a bloodhound in this. They actually have a magical collar on him and a leash, and he's sniffing along to hunt them down. He's remorseful, but he still he still calls Rogue frail, and she's like, Jesus, if anything about you could have been stuck this new way, could you have at least dropped that whole crap? And he's still kind of badmouths her and stuff, but he's clearly not this ravaging, frothing at the mouth monster that he was. Which I know some people won't like that. I talked with Scott Constable-Bromstar a couple of days ago, and he didn't like the book because he wants Sabretooth back to the way he was, not this kind of new version. I think it's kind of fun to play with for a while, so we'll see what's
much better written than in Wolverines.
Yes. Yeah. What little he's there. I mean, they don't use him a lot because he's part of the group because they're basically keeping an eye on him right now more than he's with them because they really want him. They're using him. I mean, that's the only reason he's there is because they know he's a good tracker. That's the only reason he's there. So it'll be kind of curious to see how that dynamic all gets played out, though, because he, is or was the monster that he was for so long. So.
All right.
Yeah. Anybody else got any other Marvel books they want to talk about?
Yeah, I got one more. Elektra, as it grows ever closer to the end.
That's an awesome cover.
And then when you get into this wonderful picture of Bullseye, she enters Bullseye's mind because she needs information on the Guild of Assassins, on who's leading it. And it's interesting because he's pretty much trapped in his own brain and he's a little bit brain damaged from some interaction that I'm not entirely sure what happened to him. But all there is like all of his kills, and they're like statues. And the very last one where he's holding on to is his killing of her. So there's the statue, and that's his greatest memory, is him impaling her on the side. And she starts to damage the statue before he tells her, finally, this is who's in charge of the guild. She makes a trip to New Orleans, where she comes across all these creepy monkey people. I think they're just actually monkeys with ghost mask on. And they're controlled by a psychic who is in charge of the League Assassins. And it's leading up to one more confrontation between her and Bullseye, because he snaps out of it in the end. So, it is a Marvel story. It is hero charges through and bad guy comes back from the dead.
Yeah.
So would you recommend the second trade on that Elektra?
Yes.
I got the first trade, and I really liked the first trade.
Yeah, the first trade, the story was amazing. This one, the Del Mundo art is still amazing, but the story becomes traditional Marvel. Let's just put it that way.
Potentially because they're not as invested in it because they know it's.
Yeah,
they
writing.
They got to write an end here somewhere, and so that's what they're doing now.
Yeah, and I mean it's still good. It's still going to be another excellent Elektra and Bullseye fight. So I mean that's coming up, so it's going to be fine.
Yeah. It's unfortunate that's going because I mean it sounds cool.
Yeah, hopefully Del Mundo.
That first trade,
Yeah.
that first trade on Elektra was awesome.
They need to find him a job somewhere else. So
Yes, yeah. I would totally like that. That'd be awesome.
he can come over and do a DC book.
Yeah, yes.
Okay, any other Marvel books you want to talk about? Any Marvel news we think we need to talk about?
Not really.
No? Okay, awesome. Let's roll on over to DC books. What do we want to talk about DC books? What do we want to talk about first?
Talk about Batman.
Let's talk about Batman.
I really, really like this issue. I enjoyed it a lot. The story with Joker, like the whole origin, this new origin thing.
Uh-huh.
I don't know. Like, it seems like it's a whole. I think it's a trick or whatever.
So the origin is in here. They're hinting that basically Joker is one of the Immortals. The DC universe has a handful of Immortals walking around. You know, people like Scandal Savage and stuff like that have been around a long time, and that Joker's one of them. They can go back through all of prehistory of Gotham, and since there's been cameras in Gotham, there are pictures of the Joker, or someone who looks an awful lot like the Joker, in the background of all kinds of stuff and whatnot. That he's actually a basically indestructible now. You know, he can be shot and you can't kill him. You can bust him up and you can't kill him, which would explain how in Death of the Family, when he throws him off that cliff into the water, somehow he survives what would be a potential death fall there. You know, last issue, Gordon shoots him through and through, and somehow he walks away. Lots of an uproar around about, oh my God, they've changed the origin of the Joker. How can they do that? Whatever.
Yeah.
To me, it's clearly a joke. It's clearly a joke in some sense. Not to say that he isn't hopped up on something right now. He may be juicing himself with, you know, I don't know what, some Bane juice or something else that this. I think it's curious in this issue that they touch back on Zero Year. You know, they bring that doctor back, the one with the one that injects himself with all the skeletal stuff to make himself regrowth and whatnot. So that was interesting. A good way to try and make 0 Year worth something, right?
Yeah. And that Duke character, right?
Right.
The one in the beginning too, yeah.
Yeah. So, but to me, it's clearly a ruse. It's a red herring or a joke. I mean, I call it a joke because we're talking about the Joker. Yeah. Because the backup stories in this, there's a half a dozen characters. They've all been told a different origin story of who the Joker is, right? This is clearly just another story. It's another joke. I mean, it's cool that it's got Batman questioning. He's like going, how can this really be? I mean, there's all this photographic evidence. It's like the best Photoshop he'd ever done if it's Photoshopping. You know, so it's got them all questioning, but I don't think they really are honest to God going to change the Joker and make him into some super something on a permanent basis. He's this mythos. He is Batman's boogeyman. So this is just another way to make him Batman's boogeyman, right? The idea that he's been around. The last page of the main story of this is freaking awesome.
Yes.
He's desperate. He is so desperate that he needs to find answers from somebody. Who else has been in at least in the Scott Snyder, the New 52 universe, who else has been in Gotham since the beginning? That's who he goes to. And it's really...
the line he says is just, perfect. I was like, that's.
So super excited. Whereas 0 Year went on too long, it meandered. It was like, oh man, I don't know. I don't know. Whatever. This has been brilliant.
On the back side of the 0 Year story, I could pick up this Joker story, and
you can be fine.
Yeah, there's some references to, well, not references. There's a guy in here. He's a doctor. He was in the 0 Year stuff. You don't need to know that because they kind of mention that as as Batman's engaging the guy. So it's not like you have to know all that stuff that happened in 0 Year. The stuff that's in here, completely separate. You could jump on the beginning of Endgame.
Yeah, because I dropped it at 0 Year because I didn't really care.
So you'd be fine. You'd be fine.
But I'm interested in this new Joker origin.
And if you like the stuff, before Zero Year, you'll get a kick out of the end of this. You'll get a kick out of the end of this.
Totally.
And I'm not gonna say I won't wreck that. What's at the end of this, but it's cool. It was cool. This has been Endgame has been really.
So that's on
really,
Batman 38.
Yes.
Yeah.
But this has been what fun comic books and fun Batman comic book can be about. This is hitting it all.
Like, I really don't know what is gonna happen. Like,
Yes.
Like it is.
No, I don't need anything before 38. I just need
No.
38 or do I need
No,
37?
you want to pick up the Endgame stuff. This is Endgame Part 4.
Part 4.
I mean, I've read the Endgame, so.
So you read issue 1
uh,
of Endgame. So you want to make sure you have. I'm just saying you want to make sure you have all the stuff that's part of Endgame.
Yeah.
So this is issue 4. So you want to go back to 34 is the first one.
Okay. All right.
Of this new arc, and you do want that. You do want all that stuff.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know. Like I said, for me, I think this whole Phantom or this origin story, I think it's cool. I mean, I don't believe it, for a second, and I think that to me it feels like the backstories in this help hint at that he's just out there telling people all these boogeyman stories about himself. That he's part of a group of special ops. I mean, the backup story that's in this one. This guy believes that he is part of a special ops team that was hired by the military. There's a secret military base under Gotham, and there's hundreds of basically Green Beret Batmans out there. Mm-hmm. That's how come Batman can be everywhere at once, is because there's all these Batmans. And the Joker is the one guy that thought they were doing wrong, that they crossed a line somewhere, and so he's the good guy trying to stop the secret op military Batman from ruling the city, Yeah. And one of these backstories was the Joker is, the devil that meets you at the crossroads. You go to the crossroads and strike the devil, the bargain with the devil. That's the Joker. I mean, there's just all these boogeyman stories about the Joker, and the main book has its own boogeyman story. The idea that the Joker's been around forever and that he's immortal and that he basically, you could blow him up and he knits himself back together again is extremely frightening with how insane the Joker is, right? So it's just, to me, it's another boogeyman story. It's a cool one, but it's a boogeyman story. I don't.
Yeah.
I'm curious about this cover, though. Batman in the issue talks about love and hate. Why is he hanging onto two severed hands? One has brass knuckles that say love, or a big hand ring that says love, and of course the other one has the stereotypical punk, hate tattooed on the fist. But why is he hanging onto two severed?
I have no idea. Yeah,
it's got really nothing to do with the book. I thought it was an odd choice for that cover, though. But cool. Batman was cool. It's rocking it as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, and Snyder said this is his. I think he said this is his last Joker story. Like, he's not. I don't think he's touching Joker and Batman ever again. Like, he's doing something completely different. He did a whole interview about post-convergence where he's just like, the ending to this or the stuff that's going to be happening in June, either people are going to think I'm crazy or you're really going to like it. It's really going to be a love-hate type of thing.
Oh,
so
yeah.
I'm really interested in seeing what
the stuff after Endgame, the stuff that comes after.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, he said he's it's pretty crazy. So we'll see.
Well, that'll be interesting. Batman's one of those characters. It's hard to take him into a radically new place without offending a large percentage of fanboys, right? I mean, because Batman's Batman,
Yeah.
It'll be the Batman with selfies, and he's got the web page and Facebooking. And...
It's like he
said. That's Batgirl. That's not Batman.
He basically said, I'm doing something that's never been done in the 75 years of Batman. So it probably is something out there.
That's a very big and bold statement.
I know.
So Batman in space. No, I think that's been done. That's like I said. That's a pretty.
I know, right? I was like,
bold statement to back up, because you got, well, quite frankly, you have 70 years of Batman. What haven't they touched? So for them to do something completely different, that's going to be
He'll get into magic finally. I mean, he's an expert in everything else. I always wondered why he never
Oh yeah,
touched magic.
Batman the occultist. Yeah,
Yeah.
I could dig that. I could dig that. Yeah. So what other DC books you want to talk about?
I'll talk about Gotham Academy.
Sweet. I got
Anybody else
Gotham
read
Academy.
this?
Yep. I have issue number 4 here.
This is
Go
a
ahead.
book that I don't understand why I continue to read it. It's really enjoyable. I mean, everything about it. I mean, I enjoy this book all the way through, but when I finish reading it, I don't understand why it is that I enjoyed reading it.
Do you have to have a reason if you're liking it?
Yes, I do.
Okay.
I mean, the original reason that I started reading Gotham Academy is because I like Becky Cloonan.
Mm-hmm.
And
Same here.
so I picked that up. But I mean, everything about this book is good. I keep wanting to drop it, but I can't make myself do that. It's that good to me. The art continues to grow on me every issue, and the story is amazing.
So what makes you want to drop it?
What makes me want to drop it? The fact that I don't understand why it is that I continue to read it. I mean, I don't understand what it is about this book.
You just said good
that
story, good
is-
art.
Do what now?
You just said good story, good art. I mean, what's eating
Well, I mean,
at
it's
you?
good story, good art, but I feel like every issue that I read, I'm looking for a downside to this book. And I can't find a downside. And I mean, I guess
Is
that's
that-
a
is
good
that because-
thing.
is that
I
because-
mean, I guess that's a good thing, but
Is that because there's a large chunk of us who are kind of down on the book that we're all kind of dropping? I mean, I've talked about the fact I'm dropping the book. I mean, this is the reason I have this issue is because it's part of my subscription, my advanced purchase into that. I know there's quite a bit of us in this that talk amongst ourselves, outside of YouTube and on Twitter or whatnot that are like we're all kind of not getting the book. I know some people are getting it because
no,
their
I mean,
kids like it, not that they like it.
I think that's a big reason is that the majority of people that outside of YouTube, outside of my comic shop, outside of anything, that no one is reading this book, and so I don't understand why it is that I enjoy this book. And
Well,
I mean,
there's a huge chunk of people that do. I've seen a lot of people on Twitter talking
On
about
Twitter,
the fact
yeah,
that
they're
this book
pimping
is
the book
awesome.
out,
They're
yeah.
pimping the daylights out of it, and that's cool. I think
Yeah.
it is for what it is. I think it is an excellent book. I do think that it has the art style that I'm not excited about, but it is well executed without a doubt. It has a story and a storyline that are, I think at this point, the first issue I was questioning on, I think at this point it's executing it really well. For me personally, it's not my thing, and that's why I'm more than likely dropping it at this point. Maybe I'm not because my family is caught up on reading books and everybody else likes the dang thing, so it may stay on my poll not because I'm.
but what is your reason? What is your reason on dropping that book? What is it about that book that makes you want to drop it?
It has a because I'm an old man. That's why.
Yeah.
It has a it has a youthful. You're right. Well, that's what I'm saying. That's part of why, because I'm an old man. It has a youthful tone to it, and a Harry Potter-esque tone to it that doesn't tickle my fancy, and quite honestly, never has. Maybe if I was exposed to this style and tone of a book when I was age appropriate for that, and I'm not saying that you can't like it, that it's a kid's book, and oh, Tom, you liking it, I'm not saying that at all. It's just the tone of it doesn't appeal to me. It doesn't tickle my fancy in a way that I'm interested. I understand from a craftsman standpoint why the elements of it that are good. I get why my family likes it because my family are huge Harry Potter fans. They like this kind of school atmosphere. You got these kids, they're doing their thing and whatnot. There's some great stuff in here. This opening page I mean, I love this opening page. Just this two that are freaked out because they've just experienced witnessing a ghost. The ghost touched them. They're staying here kind of chill, talking about the fact that last night they think they saw a ghost and the ghost went through them and whatnot. They're all freaked out. And you've got these kids running in the background because they're supposed to be running laps in PE. And I love the art because not all these kids look the same. They're not all running the same. I mean, some of them are running awkwardly. I mean, it has an almost anime kind of feel to it. To me, this was humorous. Them both sitting there going, "Ooh, ghosts!" and then there's the, trying to run. It reminded me of the same scene quite frankly, that's in Bitch Planet where they're running the treadmill, and there's weird stuff going on in the background. There's great stuff in this book. I would never tell somebody not to pick this book up if they like it or they're interested in it. And I would never say this book shouldn't be produced. It's a great book, and I hope it hits the fan base that I think they're trying to go for. And kudos to the people who are pimping this book, if they're pimping it for because they think this style of book needs to be out there for the audience that's really excited about it.
I mean, I'll agree that it's a different kind of book from what's normally put out. Mm-hmm. I've read a lot of books in a lot of years, and this is one of the few books that I cannot comprehend why it is that I continue to read this book.
Yeah. Well, I like Olive. I mean, the main character. I like Maps. Maps is great. I can relate with Olive. She's an outcast.
Maps is awesome.
I can relate with all that. Maps is just a fun sidekick character. I am really intrigued by the last pages. They drop one of my favorite Rogues Gallery characters in the end of this thing. That is Killer Croc at the end, right?
Yeah,
Tom?
I hope it's Killer Croc. I mean, it's either Killer Croc or it's Solomon Grundy.
No, it's not Grundy. The face is wrong.
It's one or the other. I like
so
that in this
here
issue.
It is. There he is.
I like in this issue that you introduced Bruce Wayne. That you actually had him.
He was in it early on too.
Yeah.
He was in it early on also.
Yeah, he was like in second issue, second.
Yeah.
First issue, yep.
First issue, yeah.
But I mean, in this issue, you actually have he's responsible for why is it Olive's in the in this stuff, and she's all eavesdropping, and I know.
I dropped it because I wanted it under a different medium. I wanted it in, like Travis says, it's anime style, and I wanted it in the idea of a cartoon.
Right.
So if it would have been on TV or video, I think I would have picked it up because it's animation. It would have been great, especially to get it all in one shot. I think that was the other thing too, is it didn't hold my attention enough to go from month to month. And so every time you saw it, I thought, well, I'll pick it up because there's nothing wrong with it, but it just wasn't fueling the fire for me to have desire for it.
Right. My 13-year-old, soon-to-be 14-year-old daughter, she doesn't like reading. She doesn't like reading monthly comics. She doesn't like that weight. It takes her out of the story. I'm sure once I gather up what I have and give it to her all in one shot, so she can read it all in one shot, she'll be tickled by this. She'll love this through and through. I'm sure she will. So yeah, I mean, there's an audience there. I hope it grabs. I hope it takes. I'm certainly going to say it's at this point. I think it's a well-produced book and whatnot. It's just not my personal cup of tea. And that's cool that it's somebody else's. Whereas like the Wolverine book, I will beat that thing up because I do not think it's a good book. I don't think it's it's not a quality book in a lot of ways. But I just want to make it clear when I'm talking about Gotham Academy is my intention is to drop it unless my family forces me to keep getting it because it doesn't tickle my fancy.
But you get
intercepted
by your own.
Yeah.
Like
right.
One of the things reading Arkham Manor and knowing a little bit more about Silverlock's
let's get you did you read Arkham Manor? Let's move on to Arkham Manor because what I think is fascinating is Arkham Manor keeps touching on stuff that is from Gotham Academy.
Yeah, it's really interesting. Like
this is the second issue.
Really? So do I be reading Do I need to be reading Arkham Manor
No,
with
no,
Arkham Academy?
but Olive's mom
Gotham.
is in Arkham Manor. She's been in she's comatose this entire time, but she woke up. She woke up in this issue and she's running away. And they're like, "Oh crap, we better snag her," but we don't know why. They won't tell us why.
Uh-huh.
I think it's one of those things where they are going. This is the universe. All this stuff's in this universe. I don't think that it's really tied in. I don't think it's anything you need to read. I think it's them just giving us. If you read both, you get that extra little bit.
Yeah.
Because I don't think she's going to be a factor in this at all. I think they're just using those little bits and pieces to touchstone on another book, and that's cool. I mean, that's cool to give us the universe. But I just think it's curious that twice now they've given us information in here that in this book you still have no idea anything about Olive's mom except for the final page here where she's talking to Killer Croc and she goes, "I'm not going to turn you in because you know my mom, right?"
Oh,
sweet. This is the first time in this book that we get any indication that her mom is a criminal or that her mom is crazy or that her mom's anything. But 2 issues earlier in this, we found out that her mom is in a comatose in a stretcher in Arkham Manor. But anyway, Arkham Manor.
So in hold on. In Arkham Manor number 2 or 3 or whatever, we learned that Ola's mom is in Arkham Manor?
Well, okay, somebody who's named blah blah Silvermane. So we assume it's her mom because she's got the same last name. And Batman in this, Bruce Wayne, is supposedly paying her way and has some she has some relationship with Batman. So the correlation is right. She's afraid of Batman. There's some correlation in there. It's mom or it's grandma. I don't know, but she looks awful young to be grandma.
I don't know.
Would that be like an editor's choice, or is that a writer's choice?
I dropped the Arkham Manor, so.
Well, I don't know. I mean, I have no idea. It works in here, though. It works. It's not frustrating. It's a cool little Easter egg that means nothing or means something. So what do we think about Arkham Manor, Steven?
I think it's okay. Like, I don't know. I like I think it was Mr. Freeze, right? Mr. Freeze.
Yeah.
Yeah. He was in this, and they're facing a Jokerized Clayface, I think.
A fragment of Clayface.
Okay, fragment.
So news to me. So you could break off parts of Clayface, and it'll hold his personality for a while.
Yeah, I know. That's kind of weird. But it was okay. I'm just kind of.
Yeah.
For me, for Arkham Manor, I'm just kind of just reading till I finish. I kind of just want to see.
Well, it ends at 6. We all know it ends at 6. Yeah. So basically, it's a 6-issue miniseries with a whodunit in Arkham Manor where he has to spend his time being this alter ego. Except now he's the Batman. He's back in it as the Batman. Yeah.
Like one of my favorite parts right here, just like quickly talk about, is like with Hush in that little cell, and then Alfred was like preparing this like whole big turkey right in front of him. Yeah. And then he was like, "Damn it, I can't even eat any of that stuff."
Yeah,
so,
he's torturing Hush. He's torturing Hush. That was a fun little piece in there. Yeah. I guess for me, my problem, this issue didn't feel like it moved anything forward, right? I mean, I guess up until this, it's been interesting. It's been intriguing. There's been this, mystery person popping out of the walls and attacking them and murdering people, and this issue kind of got us sidetracked into this whole, mutant Jokerized Clayface fragment that he spends most of the time dealing with. And while he's running through the manor, that's when you get these moments of, oh yeah, by the way, Silvermane or whatever her name is loose and different stuff. I did like the characterization of Mr. Freeze in here. He was funny. This whole they use his freezing chamber that he's so cold in to freeze the Clayface thing. That's how they capture the Clayface thing. But they're escaping, right? They're escaping Arkham Manor, and Mr. Freeze is like, I don't got any place to go. So he lays down. He lays down the snow. He lays down the snow and starts making snow angels because he has no intentions of leaving because he's got no place to go. Without a containment suit and stuff, he's kind of dead, so he's just playing around. So he was kind of fun. But yeah, there wasn't much to this issue as far as
Mhm.
I still like the art style. It's just a little bit
Yeah,
different. But yeah, but nothing too special as far as that goes. So,
Mhm.
but yeah, other Batman comics, of course, Paternal, Batman Eternal issue number 43. Spoiler on the cover there. This issue finally puts us at the point and hours after, what was that, Batman issue number
28, I think.
28?
Yeah.
That gave us that flash forward of the whole Batman Eternal stuff. This issue gets us to there and gets us just like a couple hours past that. Well, I've been really hard on this book. This issue actually had some decent stuff in it. There's some great dialogue and interaction between Stephanie Brown and Harper Row at the end of this. That's fun, as they kind of hate each other, but at the same time realize they're kind of two peas in a pod. And once they realize that, it's kind of like it's fun. And there is a bombshell at the end of this issue. I've been bitching about the fact that we don't know who's behind the whole thing, whatever. We still don't know. But in this issue, Stephanie Brown tells us who it is that she saw. Who it is that she saw that's behind this. Who it is that she saw that was telling her father, the Clue Master, to do all this stuff and whatnot. And I don't know. It's not who you'd expect it to be. I guess let's put it that way. And muddies the waters some, and I'm really curious to see how it turns out at the end of this, what it is. But she refuses to tell anybody. She does tell Bluebird, Harper Row, at the end of this who it is. But she says you can't tell anybody because, and we can't tell Batman because, so it's somebody tied into Batman.
Oh, sweet.
And you can't get any closer to Batman. This is the only hint I'm going to give. You can't give on air, if you want to know, talk to me afterwards. You can't get any closer to Batman than this person.
Oh.
The Calendar
So-
Man.
Yeah. Crazy Quilt.
Oh, okay, crazy. That makes more sense. Yeah.
Because, he sleeps under a
Because it
quilt.
gets closer to Batman. Yeah.
Yeah. But it was a much better issue. It was a much better issue. Clearly, it's only got X number left before it's done too. I don't know, 8, 9 issues, something like that. So we have to be coming to some sort of conclusion. So, but that issue was pretty decent. Pretty decent. Any other DC books?
Read this. Gotham by Midnight.
Gotham by Midnight? Yeah. What you thinking, Tom?
Man, I think that this is a great issue. I think that the whole Kurgan story that's been going on in this, what I didn't like about this was that the Spectre didn't come full out.
Well, he's fighting the Spectre
and, you know,
because
in the last issue, he kind of like made a partial appearance, and when you know, he was saying, "I'll stand outside the room. You'll do whatever you're going to do, and you know, I've got your back." I expected that when the virus broke out, that he was going to just Spectre out, and you know, not really what happened. I really liked the virus in this and everything that was going on. The whole shadow evilness. I thought that Ben Temple's art in this was freaking awesome. Especially, where is it, man? I don't know. Oh, yeah, right here. Yeah, I mean, I thought this was absolutely freaking amazing. The way that he did the whole, you know, everything. I like that they're working out the language in this book.
right, there's a deeper plot. There's a deeper plot
Yeah,
going
there's
on.
deeper plot
Each-
between these kids and what they're saying and the language that they're speaking and everything that's going on in this issue. Yeah, that I really, really, really enjoyed. You know, of all these side issues, Gotham by Midnight is like my favorite issue.
Mhm.
And you know,
Yeah, I'm digging Gotham by Midnight too. The reason the Spectre doesn't come out is because this new Spectre, he holds the Spectre in. I mean, you can see him in this issue. They do it. Ben Temple-Smith does an interesting job of coloring him in the panels. I don't know if how well it shows up on the camera, but Corrigan, he starts glowing green, and you can see he is fighting back. He is fighting back the Spectre because in this new 52 world, the Spectre is the equivalent of a nuclear bomb. If the Spectre comes out, he kills everything except for the righteous, and there is nobody who is righteous.
okay. But see, that's the thing
He
the
nukes.
thing that I didn't like in this issue
Oh, I love that.
was that he highlighted the fact the Spectre was there. The Spectre was fixing to, at any moment, the Spectre could pop out,
Uh,
and didn't. And that was something that and that really didn't like in this issue. I got that, you know, you were.
you didn't like that you didn't like that it was hinted the Spectre was there, or you didn't like the fact the Spectre
No,
didn't come.
I understand the Spectre is there. I mean, I think that anybody that's reading this and understands who he is, understands the Spectre is there. I didn't like that it was hinted that any moment he could pop out. That you kept giving these points that he could pop out,
Mm-hmm.
that he didn't actually pop out. And after the last issue where we got like a half panel of you know, the Spectre actually popping out,
Uh-huh.
you
I see. I
know,
think.
no.
Yeah, I think they're saving that for the money shot. This big overarching thing that's going on, this larger story. I think at some point we're going to see. Right now, the Spectre, blow his top, come out. I mean, because the last time the Spectre came out, he leveled all of Arkham. He dropped it into the ground because he blew up down there into the ground, and that's what caved everything in that whole Batman Eternal arc and whatnot. He fights the Spectre coming out because the Spectre comes out, he's going to kill hundreds of thousands of people who've got nothing to do with what's going on. So he holds that in until he absolutely has nothing else left to do. I like it. I like the fact we're not seeing the Spectre because the book isn't.
I'm not trying to
The
say
book
I'm
isn't
not
about
trying
the
to say that I
Spectre.
don't like this book at all, because this book is freaking awesome, and everything
Sure.
that's leading up to what's going to happen is amazing. I mean, like I say, I just I don't know.
Yeah, to me, this book was a little more tame than some of the others have been. I'm still enjoying it. I like the fact each issue kind of gives us a backstory on some of the other characters that are part of the team. This one was our female detective. We kind of get the first introduction when she meets Corrigan. The last issue, we got when the nun first met him. So I think it's cool. I'm digging it. And clearly,
And I really like the character
clearly-
development on what was his character, the doctor that was in this issue, Dr. Nunn.
But
Yeah, I
clearly,
really
me
like
and you
his character.
Yeah, clearly me and you disagree on that whole aspect of the Spectre, it being the ticking time bomb, and whether that's a good thing or not a good thing. But
Yeah.
that's cool. I like that. I like that aspect, and you don't. But we both still like the book for different
Oh,
reasons.
it's a great book.
Yeah. I picked up Catwoman. I'm still reading Catwoman. I'm still really enjoying this. Whereas in Batman Eternal, the characterization of Catwoman is pretty superficial. She's quote unquote catty, and that's just all there is, to her in this. Plus, despite the cover showing her buttoned up, her shirt isn't buttoned up in this issue at all, which I complained about last week.
Yeah.
But what's funny is at the very end of this, both Harper Row and Stephanie Brown talk about how cool Catwoman is, and they're both like, yeah, and I bet you she didn't even have a button on that shirt. I mean, so they mentioned it, which made it worth it. That made her not having her shirt buttoned up worth it, in at least that sense of the fact that they played with it, so that was funny. But Catwoman, I'm still really enjoying this. I like the opening stuff. There's always this literature thing in there. Some great woman in literature or in history, has some statement. It ties into the story. Like I said, to me, it just feels like it gives Selene Kyle an extra level of her just being a really smart woman who, is playing a very dangerous game, trying to save Gotham in her own way, and I like that. In this, Batman's in this issue, trying to stop her from some of the stuff she's planned.
I've got
Sure.
a question.
Mhm.
Did you believe that in this issue? Okay, because my overall problem with Catwoman and the way that this current run is going
Uh-huh.
is that they're trying to emphasize the fact that Catwoman needs Batman to exist. Like the way that Catwoman does her thing, Batman comes in and he's all like, "But you need me, honey, right?" Do you not feel that way in some way, in the way that
Well, but she clearly does it too. She basically tells him, "I don't." I mean,
but
I guess
I mean,
for
but
me,
at
I don't
at
feel.
the same time, he seems like he disagrees
Oh, of course
with
he does. He's
what
a
it is
dude.
that she's trying to.
He's a
Okay.
dude. I mean, this is my aspect on it. He's a dude. I don't know that Batman gets a lot, and this is one of the few characters we know he gets some from. I'm being quite frank and honest here. And so I actually like how in this woman in Valentine's run of the book, I like her treatment of their relationship. Clearly, they have a complicated relationship. In the New 52 early issues of Catwoman, they made it seem pretty simple. They wear costumes and they get it on, and left it at that, and left it pretty shallow. In this, clearly both of them have feelings for each other in some sense or another. They both clearly live incredibly complicated lives, and it's not simply that it can be this way. They both walk different paths, and so it's not a clean relationship. I think he wants her. He wants her to be on his side. He wants her to be part of his thing. That would be great for him. She clearly is her own woman. She would like to feel needed. She would love to be able. I think I get the impression from these issues, from the panels that are in this and the way it's written, that she would love to have that caring and feeling, but she can't. There's too much stuff going on. There's too much at risk. There's this greater thing, so she can't have that. I don't feel like she needs to have him, or she's not complete. I don't think in any way. At least what I'm hearing you say is you sound like maybe it makes her less of a person or less of a strong.
No, I don't feel as though the Catwoman character in this book is respected by Batman, as though she is an equal to.
Does Batman respect anybody?
In previous stuff, Catwoman and Batwoman have been basically equals, and that's the reason their relationship is what it is. And I don't believe in the.
I don't feel like they're not equals, because I think if Batman thought that she was less, he would have kicked her ass and drug her in a long time ago. He knows that she is running a crime machine, and he's not doing anything about it. Other than clearly he's not going to let them sell heroin on the docks. He's not doing anything about it. I think there's a level of respect there. There's a level of respect there because he is allowing her to play a very dangerous game because she truly believes that she's going to help the city, and he's letting her kind of do it to see what happens. I think if he didn't have faith in the fact that she's a capable person, he'd shut her down.
You might be right.
Anyway, I'm digging Catwoman right now. I don't know how long this whole thing will last.
I love it.
Yeah.
If we don't agree,
sure. I mean, I'm hoping that Valentine, the lady who's writing this book now, if this whole storyline's going to end when the whole, I mean, at some point, I'm assuming she goes back to just simply being Catwoman. When that happens, I'm hoping that the writer stays on the book, because this writer does an excellent job of making Selene Kyle, be more than just a lap of luxury, thief. She's much more complex, and I think that makes her a great character. Her being more complex than just a party girl.
I think it's one of the main things that makes her one of the best people in the Rogues Gallery of Batman. Is that she's not just that. She's something other than that sex symbol of a
Right.
You know.
Any other DC books?
Um,
Did everybody pick up this
Yeah.
monster?
yes.
Yeah. All right.
Everybody dropped their $8, their $7.99 to buy this thing.
As I am,
Discount.
yes.
You got a discount. Small discount though.
I got mine 50% off. Just saying. So
Lucky you.
yeah, so let's talk Multiversity, the guidebook,
Phew.
the Bible of the 52 universes, minus
Yeah.
about 7 because we don't know what happened to those 7.
Yeah. I really, really liked it. Like, for how much it kind of jumped to every Earth, it was just from beginning to end was just so different, and it was just like so really cool to see these different Earths like side by side together. And I'm a fan of who's the artist, Marcus Toe and Paulo Sequeira.
That's Sequeira. He did the Earth 51, the Commandy stuff in there.
Yes.
Wow, I love the way that
That
looked.
was
Holy,
awesome.
I'm like,
I would pick up the Commandy book, yes.
hell yeah, let's get them.
Yes,
Let's get them on a book. That art was incredible.
And
Yeah.
it was awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, just that stuff is really cool.
Yeah.
Getting to know the different Earths too, like with the different Earth from Earth 0 to Earth 51, I think.
hmm
So does that give a breakdown to all of the Earths?
Yes.
Yeah.
A small synopsis.
It gives you a
yeah.
small little blip of like who the team is. It's basically gives you the equivalent of the Justice League for each one.
I know.
Yeah,
I'm
guess.
desperate. I'm desperate for an Earth 13
Yes. Yeah.
comic because Earth 13 is
So
the
good.
magic world. So their Justice League is John Constantine, a Superman version of the Demon and Swamp Thing and Deadman, and yeah, there's
Yeah,
some awesome-
I picked that up in the like I don't know, like one in 250 variant or whatever
Yeah.
it was.
Yeah, I want an Earth
And
18.
I haven't
too.
read it yet, but
Yeah.
The Western one.
I'm going
Yeah.
for the Earth 44.
Yeah, that's exactly. I was just talking about that. That was awesome.
That's the one I'm waiting on. Yep.
Yeah. 43 is actually not that bad either with the Blood League.
Yeah, the all vampire one. Yeah.
All right, let's just DC. I don't understand. Scrap Convergence. Just give these next 2 months to just giving a one shot to each Earth, and just letting them go wild with it. I really like this. Like, I want
that's
so much
one thing
more.
I like about the Crisis on Infinite Earth is that it gives like the steampunk people like their own little world, and the steampunk people are awesome. The what is it? The not Arcane universe, but some of those other universes are freaking awesome, man. I mean, that would be awesome if you give like all those people an issue. Do 52 issues of that.
Yeah. So this issue is actually pretty cool in the sense that it really there's like 4 or 5 different worlds that actually bounce through in this thing between the worlds and the comic book that they're reading in the comic book, which of course continues to be funny to me. And they seamlessly, the story moves through those aspects so well. It's not jarring at all. The art changes, but it seamlessly goes from these two guys, these two Batmen, who, I mean, this is a kid Batman, basically. Their entire world is like children, basically. They don't really hurt anybody, and horrible stuff's happening there. Running from that to the Commandy, to the Flash world with all the Flash stuff going on that's in the comic book, is just so well executed for those bits and pieces. How smoothly it runs between that stuff is just amazingly written to give us those different stuff. How the art changes from these great rich Commandy pages, and you flip the page and it goes into a comic book, and the comic book looks like a comic book. It drops back into that mid '80s, Marv Wolfman, George Perez style type of of a feel of the book that just works perfect to talk about the whole Flash thing and all the multi-universes during the whole Crisis stuff that was going on. Just outside of the whole, because this is all window dressing. This is all fun, nerdy stuff that we all look at and go, my God, give us,
I know.
Give us these comics. We want these comics really bad. That was all cool. And then it pops out the other side of it and seamlessly goes right back into telling us the Kamandi story and the two Batman story and really ties into stuff really, really well. Whereas some of these other issues of the multiversity stuff we've been reading have felt like their own stories with just a little smidgen. Like the Pax Americana one was really its own story, except for briefly Captain Atom having the comic book. Otherwise, that wasn't even in the story. This one ties it all back together again, like the very first issue did. Of this whole kind of run of stuff. Now we're going to get some more single issues of stuff before it ties in at the very end in March when this whole thing comes to an end. Just great. This was an awesome middle point. I thought it really tied this overarching thing kind of all together. It was brilliant. I mean, this way this whole thing is working out, it's been pretty smart.
Yeah.
With the universe number 24, the children's universe. They mentioned the little Gotham's comic book.
Yeah.
You think that's one of the 7 unknown universes?
Could be.
Yeah.
Right. Could be.
Tell me if they move that Gotham, little Gotham, into the Convergence.
Yeah.
I haven't seen it yet, but that'd be amazing.
Yeah. But yeah, granted, it's an $8 book. That's a pretty serious chunk of change. For really the whole middle of it is not necessary for the story, but as far as this, them going, hey, here's our universe. It's awesome.
I want this universe. Like, it's so good.
Start giving us some of this stuff.
I know.
Man,
it's like,
I love that y'all are all up in that because I got 2 for 15, the Grayson and Multiversity.
Mm-hmm.
So
it's cool.
Yeah, I got the Multiversity for like $7.
Well, I think they should. I think coming out of the other side of Convergence, they should have a book that is a DC Presents, and have it be these other worlds. Give us 3-issue story arcs from these worlds. Just pick one. Give us a 3-issue story from some writer and some creator, and then give us another 3 issues of some other place. I don't care if they tie together. Play around with this. Grant Morrison's giving you a Bible to your entire universe. Let's go.
Unbelievable. Yeah. I mean, Grant Morrison single-handedly just like, screw Convergence. I want this. I want this for a long. Yeah.
I mean, okay. So, do you guys believe that Convergence and the Secret Wars are basically the same event? Because that's kind of how I feel about it. Is that you're just collapsing these universes upon each other?
No. Convergence isn't collapsing the universes upon each other. Convergence is just an excuse for them to go and make a bunch of crazy crap while they're doing stuff. I give Convergence. I don't care what the people say. To me, as a whole, Convergence is fluff. It's just there for fan base. Let's have some fun, writing some weird crap that ain't gonna matter in the grand scheme of things. That's how I see Convergence. I mean,
so you don't believe on the other side of Convergence that you're going to come out with anything different? You're just going to come out with.
Well, sure. There's going to be different stuff because it's going to be a new starting point for everything. Because I think just about every storyline ends before Convergence hits.
Yeah.
Almost all the titles, whatever storyline they have going on, ends there. New stuff comes out the other side. So it's a clean place for them to start to do something different. Like Steven was talking about how Snyder says coming out the other side of Convergence, it's going to be a crazy new Batman that you're either going to love or hate. So it's an excuse. It's an excuse for them to do that. Convergence itself did not create that. Convergence happened, and it gave everybody a 2-month break to go, what kind of new thing would I like to tell? Yeah. Whereas Secret Wars, they have a battle plan. Secret Wars is there to change Marvel's status quo to whatever they want to do next.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's been like years in the making for Secret Wars.
Convergence is all of our editors need to take a 2-month break so they can move their families to the other side of the United States. Let's create this whole thing and do that. And
then Secret Wars is like, we want to make Miles Morales.
It's a battle plan.
Spider-Man.
Yeah, I feel like I feel like Secret Wars is a battle plan to set them up for what they want to do next. Whereas Convergence is a thing to fill in the 2-month break and a convenient place to let's do something new or do something different. Clearly, there's going to be a bunch of new books for DC coming out the other side of Convergence because they canceled like 6 to 9 books. If they're going to keep up their 52, something's got to come out the other side of it, so it'll feel like new stuff's happening, rolling out the other side of it. I'm excited to see what it's going to be. I'm not necessarily excited about Convergence itself, but I'm excited to see what comes out the other end of it.
So is the worst possible thing that can happen after this be that they don't do any of these universes, that we never see any of this again?
I don't.
I hope.
I would be shocked. I would be shocked. To be honest with you, Mike, I'd be shocked if they mined much of this stuff.
Like with Multiversity, when it first began, how much hype did DC really? Because I always felt that, in the back of, certain DC comic books, you had that little New 52 back page, News 52, whatever, and that's where they kind of put the Multiversity there. They didn't really, pimp it out to where, because Multiversity is one of the most creative things,
it's Grant Morrison. Do you think they have to pimp it really hard, though?
I mean, yeah, I guess so. I
think Crisis on Infinite Earth is one of the best things I'm reading right now.
So, not to shut you down, Stephen. So what you're saying is, if I hear you right, you're saying that you think that this really wasn't meant to be anything too powerful because they didn't really bill it as being that?
Yeah, something like that. But I'm just I wish DC would have just, hit this out a little bit more. More people get into this stuff because this is some pretty amazing stuff. What Grant Morrison's doing with all these characters and just changing them up and giving us different variety of stuff. When a lot of people these days with DC books, it's not my cup of tea, or just I just kind of fell flat on it. This kind of stuff, yeah.
Yeah, and part of me is happy that they didn't do that. That they didn't spin it, because if they were going to put that much energy behind it, then we'd have tie-ins, then we'd have, what I mean?
True. I
think because Grant is in control of the whole thing as a writer. Clearly, he has editors that tell him what he can and can't do. But because he is doing the whole thing, that's why it's really feels like it's working. You can. It's not an event book, but they're kind of now using it as one, because now, of course, Dan Didio is saying, "Ooh, the Multiversity and Convergence, it's all going to bump in together someplace and make this magic out the other end." Right. Yeah, right. That's somebody. That's somebody selling you a used car. Yeah. That's the used car salesman. He's out there pitching everything now.
Okay.
It may make it all dovetail together in some way or another, but I don't think it was ever really meant to be that, because this Grant Morrison thing has been in the work forever. They were talking about, they were talking about publishing this thing 4 years ago. They were talking about publishing this before the New 52 came out. So it's just been that long to get all the pieces together to make it work right for them. So I don't think it's really honestly part of the whole grand scheme of things. But I'm loving the fact.
But a better story than the whole Multiversity is Infinite Crisis. Infinite Crisis, the video game, is the exact same series that you're putting out from Multiversity, but it is such a better series. and it didn't take any time to put out. You had a video game that came out, and you made this series. That series is it's not, I mean, it's not even comparable. The Grant Morrison series has been amazing, but this Infinite Crisis series that's gone along with the video game has shown you everything that is in those multiversities. They've shown you the Arcane Green Lantern. They've shown you the, Nightmare World Robin. They've shown you everything. To me, the Infinite Crisis series is like what you would hope that Multiversity would be. And it's just me, but
Really?
man, that series is amazing.
I'll have to go and take a look at some of those stuff. I mean, I've seen it in my solicitations and whatnot, and just ignored it because it's tied into a Flash game. I mean, it's not even.
No, it is a game, but
right.
Take what you've seen in Multiversity, and all those worlds, all those infinite worlds, are brought into one single world. And I mean, it is absolutely an amazing series. It's like people talk about all the time about how Injustice is such a good series. I mean, it's the same thing. It's not tied into anything. It's just these worlds, and here they are. And it's absolutely amazing.
Huh? Well, I'll check it out. You're telling me it's better than this Grant Morrison run. I'll
I
clearly
think it's
take
better.
I'll
I think
clearly
it's
take a look
better
at
than
it.
the Grant Morrison run. I dropped the Grant Morrison run, and I'm still picking it up because of variants. The Grant Morrison run, to me, on this series is a pale comparison to how good that Infinite Crisis is.
Really?
That's just me.
Okay.
Yeah, it's just me.
Because to me, I think Morrison is weaving a mighty tale in this thing, and I think by the time we get to the end, it's gonna. I mean, I'm already amazed at the stuff he's doing, and I think we'll come out the other end of this thing with our heads cracked open with just how great this was. So.
Maybe. I mean, I'm reading both. So if we come out of the other side of this and Grant Morrison absolutely freaking baffles me, then I'll be like, wow, that was freaking awesome. But right now, Infinite Crisis is the better of those two series to me.
Okay. Well, I said I'll be tracking.
So what's the next book supposed to be like then? The one that's after this?
The next book I think is like a Freedom Fighter one, right? It's Uncle Sam. And the Freedom Fighters against
where Earth is that?
The Nazi.
Is that supposed to be like the Pax Americana? It's going to be a one-shot, a full story, or
yeah.
All right.
With the little, I'm sure it's going to be with the little bits of tie-in of the comic book, like all these have been, like Thunderworld was, like the SOS one was.
Yeah.
These have all kind of been that. One story with a little flirtation of other stuff in it.
All right. How much was in the center of this and the price? I thought this was the end. I didn't realize there was another one after. How many more books coming out?
For me, like I said, for me this is the middle because the book ends in March. The final.
All right.
I think I'm.
Yeah, I think March. Yeah, it's March.
Is it March? I can't remember if I know I ordered one that was sounding like it was going to be March. March,
yes.
I ordered whatever the first one of these multiversities was called. I ordered number 2 just a couple weeks ago.
Yeah.
So number 2 I think is the end. The end of this thing. Which to me that's kind of misleading. I mean, it's cool, but it's also misleading. If you don't know that going into it, these all look like one shots or whatever, and you kind of get tricked out of the bigger picture. Not that all of these single issues have been cool, but it tricks you out of the bigger picture. So this is like the middle point. There were like 3 issues before it, and there's going to be 3 issues out the other side of it. I think are basically that same kind of equivalent. This is like a middle point of Because because a lot of all the characters are starting to figure out that there's this greater thing going on. We've clearly figured out that there's all the crazy mad scientists that are jacking everybody around in this. So, we've got a clearer enemy of the multiverses, and so now the heroes are starting to get it together to now deal at the other end of it. So
I think it's interesting they picked the Captain Marvel, so Dr. Sylvanus, as their main bad guy. The multiple
Sure.
doctors.
Yeah.
Sure. I think it's great because it's using a different mad scientist than the people we saw all the time. If it would have been Lex Luthor, it would have been, oh God, Lex Luthor.
Yeah.
We see him all the. Do you know what I mean? We see him all the time. So for me,
Yeah.
I'm happy that it's some other crazy take over the world mad scientist, and he's the perfect character for it because he really is this kind of. Why would I just take over a country when I could take the world? Or why the world when I could take a universe? Well, why the universe when I could take the multiple universes? He's perfect for that. He's perfect for that giant, megalomania kind of character. So.
Would you also say that this is more for everybody who read pre-52 than those that just joined 52? Because there's so much more history in it?
There's some parts like when you're talking about the different Earths that's mentioned, like the New Frontier Earth, and then
they actually mentioned they actually mentioned the Monitor and the Anti-Monitor. Those were all created in the original Crisis, which is really the DC event book of DC event books. In my opinion, it's the first. It's the great. So there's stuff in there for that, but I don't know. I mean, I think it would be just as cool as a new fan to DC to be exposed to. Oh my gosh, there's all these other worlds out there where they're kind of the same heroes, but they're not. This whole, this Earth with all the Earth 11, where all the heroes are gender swapped. That's a huge mistake. Yeah. You realize that should be that should be World 63, but. Cosplay stuff, but I mean, to suddenly have somebody point out and say, look, there's all these other magical universes out there that we can tell a story with and whatnot. I think that'd be just as cool from a new fan point, too. Sure. But yeah, it does mine some old stuff. Like I said, that whole Flash part where that's so Crisis and 80s style comic book. That's just really. A nod to that era.
Did you look at any of these previews convergence titles? It seems to me they're all Flashpoint.
A lot of them are, because Flashpoint.
Yeah, I mean,
because in the timeline,
I would say like 60% at least.
Right, because in the timeline of DC's timeline, if you look at the entire DC universe from the day DC Comics became DC Comics, National Comics, and you look at their timeline going all the way forward and all the stuff that's happened, and in the modern era of these events we've had and whatnot, Flashpoint is the one that set up the New 52. So it's the closest thing that most people are going to recognize, know of the newer fan base. So I think that's why a lot of that stuff is keyed off of that. Because I think to a large degree, a lot of this convergence stuff is trying to, I almost want to say, pander to all those pissed off DC people who say they'll never read another DC book again because they rebooted the entire continuity.
Yeah, and they want classic Superman.
This way they can go. This way they can go. Look, here we are. We're bringing back your things. Come read some of our comics, and maybe you'll get suckered into reading some of the other newer stuff. And if you're one of those people who's still sitting on the fence saying I'm never reading DC because of that, and you've honestly not really honestly tried some of the new stuff that's coming out, you're missing out, and I think that's a very obtuse way to look at the comic world. It's all still part of the same universe. This kind of shows that stuff still exists. The Flashpoint stuff still exists. It's in another universe. We're just not talking about it anymore right now. It's still out there. So.
Yeah. Yeah, Travis, going back to our conversation about, when you mentioned Dan Didio and just pimping this book, you're when you put Dan Didio in that, give him something like that to work with, he kind of messes it up.
Right.
I mean, I'm kind of glad. I'm kind of glad this is kind of it's on its own, and I hope people do, you know, when this is collected, look out, try to get it. It's really, really awesome. So.
Yeah, and I think it's a good story on a lot of levels. Like I said, I think as a newer fan, you can read it and enjoy it for what it is too. If you're a longtime comic fan, you could dig it for the stuff that it dips into, you know, all kinds of things from the history of DC Comics. I think you can even get a kick out of it if you're a longtime comic fan, just for the kind of meta story I think that's being told about comic books, about the whole, you know, I mean, because it's using DC characters, but some of the kind of touching points of some of this stuff is easily just anybody's comic book history of superheroes and the whole genre in itself too, I think. So, like I said, I think there's a lot of ways to enjoy it. And yeah, if you haven't picked it up at this point, you know, I mean, it'll come out in some sort of collection, and that'll be probably pretty awesome to read in that collection. So, like I said, I just hope that DC you know, uses some of the stuff for some other things.
Commandy, just it's there.
Yeah, get that dude to do the artwork for it and find a solid writer. Get Brian Arizio to write it and Sequeira to do the artwork on it, and it's gold. It's gold. So, anyway, anything else we want to talk about DC wise? I'm assuming we're out of books.
I do have one more.
Yeah, awesome. That's right.
Yeah. It's really. I mean, it's been okay. You know, G.I. Zombie's infiltrating a base, and he's trying to stop, I think, the main guy, and the main guy actually figured out G.I. Zombie's in the facility, so he just basically says he's basically taking his main confidants as just like his higher up people and just getting on a plane, and they're just basically going to nuke the whole facility because they don't want all the secrets to find out about, you know, this virus that's been created, and it accidentally spilled into, I think it was a city in Tennessee, and then they're trying to cover it up. So they just want to, you know, they want to cover up the tracks by just nuking the whole facility. So I think we're like 2 issues away from it ending. I really enjoy it. It's really something different. It's Jimmy Palmiotti and Justin Gray and Scott Hampton on the art. And it's just fun. It's just one of those fun stories. You know, I'm glad it made it to 8 issues. I'm kind of glad I picked up the Future's End issue because they kind of wrote it as, if this was our final issue, let's just give it to you guys because we don't know how far this is really going to go.
Nice.
So I'm kind of glad I got to pick that up and read it, and kind of just it'll tie into when it ends in issue 8. So it's been fun. It's cool. You know, I don't wish it went for longer.
Something I wanted to ask you, Steven, as a Superman fan, have you seen his new costume?
No, I haven't. Well, what's his new costume?
Well, so here, I'll see if I can do a screen share here.
Uh-oh.
See if I can not mess this up. Let's see. Am I sharing here? Share.
Nope.
Okay. So, now I am.
Okay.
Okay. So here is the old costume, right? Can you guys see that?
Yeah.
Right. So there's the old costume, Superman #1, in all of its glory. And here is the new costume. Yeah. So John Romano Jr. redesigned the costume. So the boots aren't so chopped up like they were on the old one. But now he has those gloves. He has those fingerless sleeve glove things. Yeah, you see that? Yeah, they changed his belt. They gave his belt a little bit of yellow, and it's not quite so pointy. And they dropped the collar. I mean, he's got, you know, it goes up on his neck, but it's not a full actual collar. But like it looks like his chest has still got some of the segments on it, right?
Yeah.
But that's not as bad. I think I like the new one better, but
it's like so like subtle changes where it's just I'm just like, oh, no red underwear? Okay.
Right.
Moving on.
Yeah.
But I mean, you know, I am enjoying the Romita Jr. Jeff Johns thing. You know, next week it's like an exercise issue where they're saying like new powers, new everything for
That's
this
what I hear.
character.
That's what I hear. They're changing his. They're going to give him new powers and stuff.
I know. I'm just like,
There's a storyline behind that.
yeah, it has something to do with this guy. I forgot what his name was, but he basically he's from the future, and there's this planet that he wants to save, and Superman goes there, and some of the energy gets like mixed with him, and I guess he's gonna have these new things. So it's I don't know. I've been liking it. I really want them to do a whole. I'm okay with the new costume. I just kind of wish there's so many designs. Like I've seen some designs in that guidebook that I'm just like,
right.
Why? Because I love the Kingdom Come version.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Or I think one of the versions where it's like the cape is actually hooked to the shield or something, or hooked to the vest or whatever, and it just looks really awesome. Like something like that. I mean, and the red underwear that'd be nice, but yeah.
Yeah, I like classic costumes.
Yeah.
I guess that's my problem. I know people want change and whatnot, but I like the classic costumes. It doesn't matter who it is. If you want a character who changes costumes, make a new character who's into changing their costume, and then if it changes all the time, I don't care. But as a whole, I know nobody would wear the same damn thing for 50, 60, 70 years, but I just like the classic costume. There's a reason that like Black Canary has had some horrible costumes, and she always ends up back in that leather jacket and fishnets. As ridiculous as it is for her to be fighting in fishnets, it looks the best. It just does. Unless you're offended by fishnets, it just all ends up at the end of the day. It's the best. It's the classic best costume. Superman should be wearing his silly red underwear. That's just
it's just
How do you feel about the whole Supergirl brunette hair and black Jimmy Olsen?
Oh, for the new show?
Yeah,
is she actually going to be brunette, or are they going to dye her hair?
I mean, she's brunette right now.
Well, sure. The actor is a brunette, but as much as I don't care, it doesn't matter to me. I would bet that she ends up being a blonde. Jimmy Olsen being, does that matter? I don't think it matters at all.
Yeah.
There's nothing that says that Jimmy Olsen needs to have red hair.
I don't think it matters. It's weird to me that you would make that a relationship.
I guess I didn't realize that Jimmy Olsen and Supergirl had any sort of a relationship.
No, I didn't either.
I thought Jimmy Olsen.
That's the whole thing with me.
It's a TV show.
Yeah.
It's a TV show, so I'm happy for them to just take it and do whatever they want to do with it. Clearly tell its own story, and hope the hell it doesn't jack the comic book up. That's where I'm at with it. Do whatever it wants to do. Whatever it wants to do. In the comic book, Jimmy Olsen's already been introduced as a freckle-faced redhead, so they're gonna have to do some really, story changing to suddenly have him be of an African American or something like that. They're gonna have to really change it. But as far as the TV show, I don't think it matters. There's nothing about Jimmy Olsen that says that he needs to be Anglo-Saxon or of Irish descent to have red hair and freckles. There's just zero. Yeah. That's just a thing of the era that the characters came out of. So I don't see any reason. I mean, I'm more curious as to why is Jimmy Olsen in a story with Supergirl, because in my head the two don't correlate. Jimmy Olsen is a photographer for the Daily Planet, and that's a Superman thing. But I know why they're using the character. It's a name we all know. If you know anything about the Superman era, it's at least a name that we know the name. Whether you know the face or not, I don't know. It's just like I didn't have a problem with the fact that in the movie, White is George Fish,
Lawrence Fishburne. Yeah.
Who clearly isn't an Anglo-Saxon either, So what? It didn't matter. That it had no effect on the story whatsoever. Those are things that don't. that don't have a, I mean, though they aren't iconic. I mean, I guess maybe some people would say Jimmy Olsen, freckle face, is iconic. I don't know. To me, he's not. But I'm not that invested in the character. So maybe it'd be different if I was more invested. I don't know. I just don't see how it matters. But then why didn't they make Supergirl Chinese or something? I don't know. I mean, I guess there's that argument.
Well, they make playing a black guy. I don't know.
Yeah.
Well, but I think that there are certain people like a J. Jonah Jameson. I mean, there it's a little more of an iconic image as opposed to Perry White. I don't know how iconic Perry was. So.
Yeah. There are important figures in like Lois Lane is too, and all that stuff to the mythos that's Superman, I think. But I don't know that it's race. I don't know that race is a critical element of that.
Yeah.
Clearly, if you've had a character who's had a storyline or a history where race is an important factor, then suddenly changing the race of that character, could be problematic. And clearly they're trying to give a diverse cast. I mean, this is the era that we're in. They're trying to create a more diverse cast, so hopefully you get a more diverse viewing audience. I don't fault them for that. I guarantee you that if DC had to do it over again, I don't know if they'd make Jimmy Olsen black, but certainly somebody in Superman's pantheon would be a different ethnicity than everybody being white, because that's not a realistic slice of Americana anymore.
Yeah.
So if it ever really was, but so why not? I mean, I think it makes sense for a lot of.
As long as they tell a good story, just
Right.
compelling television, that is all that matters. And I mean, there's some rumors floating that the first villain that's going to be in the Supergirl show is a lumberjack or something of that, like a villain that I don't know. I don't understand this either. I was like, a lumberjack, why would that be your first villain? But I have no idea. Lumberjacks in the inner cities, I guess. I mean, if you're living in the woods, I don't know. But that's rumored as the first villain, a lumberjack, in like the first couple episodes. So
I'm just trying to picture how that.
I mean, if that's for the pilot, then I'm just like, why? Why? You already said it's not going to be picked up. CBS is not picking that up. It's like, So far so good, baby. I don't know.
Yeah.
But,
Yeah. I think it's cool. I think it's cool they're doing.
Yeah.
I think it's cool that another station is taking it on. It's not CW taking it on. It's somebody else. So we might get a little bit different tone out of it. So that's all cool. I think that's all cool stuff. Yeah.
You don't see Jimmy Olsen on the salmon ladder showing off his abs?
I just don't see that happening.
the Easter egg.
That might be a little strange if they have Jimmy Olsen as some buff dude that's pumping iron and looking like he's on roids. That might be taking the character in a direction I'd be going, wait a second,
Did they not look kind of a scrawny kid, man, or a scrawny dude?
Right. So anyway, I think we're done for the night, eh?
Yeah.
This has probably broke the record for our longest show, I think, at this point. So, but I appreciate you guys being here and talking comics with me. It's been awesome. There were lots of great comic books to talk about. Always great when we get a week of some decent books to chat about. And thank you all who watched. We've solidly had quite a few viewers on for pretty much the entire night. So I appreciate those of you who tuned in live and commented, and for those of you who will watch later on while you're cleaning your homes or washing the dog or all the other stuff that people tell me that they do while they listen to us talk. I appreciate you listening to us talk. Add your comments in. I love to have discussions to know what other people think about the stuff that we're spouting on about. Especially if you agree with me, then it's all the better. But whatever, you can argue with me too. That's awesome. I always appreciate that. At any rate, any parting words of wisdom you guys want to give before I say goodbye?
Nope.
Okay.
We're good.
Awesome. Yep. So, at any rate, have a great night, and we'll catch you all next week, hopefully. Bye, everyone.